Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? Welcome, everybody.
What's up,
So
man?
who do we have?
Oh,
who's in the audience?
Whose
Or in
voice was
the
that? My eyes
audience?
are closed, and it sounded like
Was
Jack Winters.
But we didn't have a feature tag on this episode.
Oh, what the heck?
Oh.
Oh, my eyes are open now. Jack is sitting
I'm
here.
happy to say I joined the show. I love it.
Woo! So you're going to be hearing a lot more of Jack because he is now the third member of the crew. Congratulations, Jack.
Well, it'll be the second member because I'm bumped to third
Yeah, that's fair.
with Nick,
Yeah.
Jack, and Keith.
That's fair. It's
That
gonna
was
be
part of
Nick,
the-
Jack, and we'll just call it that. It's just like
That was actually part of the negotiations.
it's part of the. It was very tough
It's like,
negotiation.
yeah, I gotta build higher than him, or I'm not going.
Yeah. Ooh, should we just put "and more" like Nick, Jack, and more? Just so that way, if it doesn't,
Yeah.
Keith doesn't work out, we could just swap him out. That's fucked.
No, that's cool. I like that.
That's wild. Well,
I need
welcome,
to
Jack.
compete.
What?
I need to compete every week for my position.
Yeah.
As third.
And we'll give you at the very end. We'll give you a rating out of 200,
Okay.
and we'll break it down. It's gonna be most of the episode.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, welcome, Jack. Happy to have you, man.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited to get started on this podcast.
So we did a pretty heavy first movie, I think, for your to welcome you onto the show.
Yeah, I'd say so.
So this movie is Saving Private Ryan. Moment of silence. So I'm
I didn't even know we were. I didn't know we were doing that.
I didn't know we were doing that either. I said it kind of as a joke, but then you guys didn't.
Well,
say
I think you
anything,
went
and I was
silent,
like,
and
oh,
then
shit.
I was like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is where we do the moment of silence." And then you said it, and I was like, "Oh, I guess we're doing that." Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's not do that.
So we were covering again the 1998 Saving Private Ryan, directed by Steven Spielberg. Yeah, but before we get into that, we forgot to do our favorite part of the show.
We
What
didn't
did you guys
forget.
watch?
We just didn't do it yet.
All right, fine. You know what I'm going to do, Keith?
What are you gonna do? We
I'm gonna
didn't
cut.
do it yet.
I'll rearrange. I'll do some production.
No, you just keep it the way it is because that's how we do it.
That's fair. So what did you guys watch this weekend?
We'll start with
Or not this weekend?
What did you
2
watch
weeks.
for the last 2 weeks? Yeah,
Oh, that's another thing. We're going to be posting these every roughly 2 weeks now.
yeah.
So if you notice, like, oh, these guys are deadbeats or whatever, this guy Jack came, he's not featured anymore.
Yeah.
I'm only doing it once every other week. We did change things up, so don't be alarmed. Yeah. So what did you guys watch in the last couple weeks?
Well, we'll start with our new
Our guest of honor,
Okay.
our new second place.
Keith. Well, I guess you're the guest now.
Oh yeah, I am the guest, so I go last.
Third.
And more.
Third in
He
command.
goes last.
And
And
more.
more.
Can you refer to me as Ann Moore now?
No, I've been watching. I've been ripping a lot of TV shows that I wanted to watch. I'm more of like a movie guy. My wife's the show person in our relationship. Like she can rip shows off like crazy.
Yeah.
I have to get in the mindset. Like I'm like more like, all right, 2 hour movie, boom, I'm done.
Let's do it. Yeah. Get in, get out, no fooling around.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. But I watched a couple short ones. I finished The Bear. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
I finished The Last of Us, which I liked. I thought it was really good. And then I watched Euphoria
Nice. That's Keith's favorite show.
because my wife told me to watch it, and I
Why
thought
is
that
that
was
my favorite show? My name's
know.
Ann Moore.
it was it was pretty crazy show. I like
It's like
that
the
show.
least relatable show I've ever watched. In
The
my
worst
entire
part
life.
is though is I feel like
Yeah.
to the next generation it's not as unrelatable as you'd
Yeah.
want it to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It sucks.
I don't know a
So
lot
really-
of people that are in high school, so I don't know.
Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, don't think about that. Think about the kids that are like a couple years younger than you.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the
just saying.
funny thing I thought was like you're watching the show and like none of these kids are going to work or anything.
Oh, yeah,
like
they're
they're
just
just like
chilling.
partying. and,
Aren't
like,
they? Are they in high
and all
school?
that stuff. Yeah.
In the first one, at least.
Yeah.
I didn't see the second season.
Yeah, they're in high school, but like
Yeah.
I had a job in high school. Like
That's
Yeah.
true. Same.
it's like funny. Like you would think they'd be like, I gotta go to work now. Like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go party and do
Gonna
this.
go do a bunch of cocaine.
well, should we show?
Like-
Should we show when they like brush their teeth too and stuff?
Yeah.
No, no.
Just kidding.
But
I'm
they
just kidding.
and then the last thing, well, the last show I'm watching is Under the Banner of Heaven with
Okay.
Andrew Garfield. It's really good.
What is that
It's,
on?
It's on Hulu.
Okay.
And it's like he's like a Mormon detective, and he's like there's a murder that happens, and then it starts messing with his mind about his religion. So it's really
Yeah.
good.
That's pretty cool.
So I have like
Is it new? Is it like a new?
It's like 2022.
Oh, so it's pretty. What are they,
Like-
like 2 seasons now or something like
It's
that?
just one. It was just a mini series, I think.
Gotcha.
So there's 7 episodes. I have 2 left.
That's pretty solid.
But other than that, only movie I really watched recently was with my buddy Sean, which I know Keith has watched already. Repo Man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
With,
seen that one.
Oh, you love it.
Emilio
that?
Estevez.
Oh, that's
And
pretty wild.
It's like really a great movie. Like it's a crazy movie. It like almost has David Lynch vibes to it.
Yeah.
And it's really good Estevez role.
Yeah.
And you got Harry Dean Stanton.
Yeah,
as
Harry
well.
Dean Stanton's
he
great.
hasn't really done much of anything since,
No.
or Emilio Estevez, right?
No,
I can't picture
not a lot,
anything, yeah.
but this is a great role for him, and
So that
we watched it actually on
84.
Keith's suggestion, and
Nice.
it was awesome.
yeah, it's 84. Yeah, I think you will like it.
Yeah.
It's
But-
got that like fucking weird, funky 80s
It
vibe.
does.
But
It's like-
honestly,
Oh,
it's
I'm
very
here for
different
it.
from
Yeah.
the 80s movies. It's
It
very
is,
different.
but Estevez is hilarious.
Yeah.
like it's great.
That's pretty wild.
But those are the things I watched. I haven't been watching a ton of movies lately,
Yeah.
just because I've been watching these shows. But
They
other than
suck
the
up a
movie
lot
that
of
we
time.
watched,
Shows they always take up a ton. It's like,
Yeah.
obviously, you watch a movie and you can do like a couple of weeks or
Yeah,
something.
right,
But
yeah.
if you do a show, I mean, you just stay on the one show for
Yeah.
months.
yeah,
But yeah, Keith, what about you? Anything fun?
So shows wise, we still need to finish Sopranos, but somehow we like got stuck on season
Yeah.
6. We just stopped watching and we just started watching other stuff. But we picked up True Detective season 4.
Okay.
Yo,
Oh.
Is that the one?
That
What's her
show is-
name?
I heard
in
that's
it?
good.
fucking
What's her? What's
wild.
what's her name?
Jodie Foster.
Yeah,
She's the lead detective.
that looked good. I
And
added
then
that to my list the other day.
The
That looked
second
pretty
in
cool.
command is actually like a pro WBC championship boxer, and
Oh, really?
Because she looks hard as shit when you
Yeah.
first see her. You're like, dude, what the? And I looked, we looked it up. She's from Philly, and she's actually like she just transitioned to an actress,
Oh, that's cool.
but she's just been whooping ass.
It's just been.
But when you see her, she's like jacked. You
Yeah.
just, she
Yeah.
looks. Like
It looked.
some-
I
like
watched the
someone-
little trailer for that. The show looks awesome.
and it's going
Yeah,
to
I
be
gotta
right up
get
your
into
alley
that.
because it
Yeah.
does nothing but lead little homages to the thing. Like literally, the first second, I'm like watching this show. I'm like, okay, do I just have the thing on my brain?
yeah.
But I didn't see there's a thing poster in one episode.
Oh,
There's,
really?
like-
That's pretty awesome.
But there's like stuff I don't even want to say any of
Yeah.
the stuff because
Is that just one? It's just the current season. Like, do you
Yeah.
need to watch the other
No,
stuff?
no,
to
they're
see?
all-
okay. It's
they're all
all
separate.
individual.
Yeah, I think
okay.
they're anthologies.
Yeah, they're
so,
anthology.
Like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
That's
so
because I watched the first one, and then I started watching the second one. I kind of fell out of it, but I wanted to kind of revisit it. But I heard the new one
Yeah,
that you're
4,
talking about is good.
there's 3
Yeah.
episodes out, and it is.
Is it like the Thing 35 millimeter? That's what it's like.
No, they put that shit in 4K. No, but it's like I would say it's The Thing meets Fargo with a whole other twist.
Yeah.
Of like it's in Alaska
Yeah.
or Antarctica. I'm sorry, not Alaska. Antarctica, right?
Oh, I thought it was. I don't know.
It's up like right near the Arctic Circle.
Okay. Okay.
So like you have like native,
Yeah.
a whole native like side to it on top of it. So there's like a native
Is it
thing
like
happening.
is it like a paranormal type thing?
That's what you don't know.
Okay.
It feels
Okay.
like a Skinwalker kind of thing is happening.
Yeah.
As you watch the first episode, you'll see that you'll feel like there's some kind of nighttime like
Yeah.
thing happening, but you don't know if that's actually what it is or if
Oh,
that's
that's
what they
pretty
think
cool.
it is.
I watched
So
that
you can't tell if
trailer
it's like
very very close to like I saw that and I had just finished 30 Days of Night. And I
Okay.
was like, why does this feel like the same exact setting?
oh yeah, and
basically?
it's so the whole idea is and you notice
Yeah,
in
it probably
the,
has the same.
in the first
feel.
10,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
first 10 seconds it says December 17th. I think it's the last
The last day of sun,
of
basically.
sun for the year. So I
Yeah.
guess there's probably like weeks where there's no. It's
That'd
just
be
black.
crazy,
So,
man.
like,
Like have
that'd be
sun
terrible.
for
And Alex
6
at work-
months and no sun.
So this isn't a spoil, but there's a part that happens at night,
Yeah.
and the person says, "Oh, good morning,"
Yeah.
and like Alex at work brought that up. He's like, "Dude, it's crazy to think that when they're talking about morning, it's just been black
Yeah.
out for 24 hours, and they've just been like they're just used to this."
Yeah. We went to, my sister and I went to Iceland when I was in high school, and they experienced the same thing. So when we were there, it was in the season where they get, I think, more sunlight. And so it was like, it'd be 10 o'clock at night, and it was like bright out.
Yeah, did you ever
It
see?
messes with you.
You ever
But yeah,
see
it's
the
a-
movie Insomnia?
No.
The
It's Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
It's Pacino and Robin Williams.
oh man,
And it's a really good movie. He goes out. Pacino goes to investigate a murder out in like Alaska.
it's Alaska, yeah.
And he's like can't sleep because it's always sunny. Like
Yeah.
he's taping his blinds and
Yeah.
everything, and he starts like losing it because he can't sleep. Like, and it gets wild. It's a good
What was it?
movie.
I saw it was Robin Williams. It was 2002. Right?
Yeah, Robin
Nice.
Williams.
Yeah.
That's
So he
wild.
plays the cop. And
I gotta
Robin,
watch that.
Robin
Yeah,
Williams
that
plays,
seems
like,
Yeah,
insane,
Robin
though,
Williams
like-
plays like the,
He's a
Crazy
he's like
guy.
a horrific like
Robin
rest,
Williams.
rest in peace.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a horrific like henchman.
But that's a
like,
good movie.
psychotic,
That's a
Yeah.
good like movie that depicts
man.
that. Well.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you? What about
so
did you see
movies
anything
wise?
else? Yeah.
I finally watched Dune 2021.
Okay.
Which
Was it
is
good?
incredible.
It was good.
That movie. I don't know
Yeah.
why I slept on it. Like I just
Yeah.
kept saying, "Oh, I'm gonna watch it. Oh, I'm gonna watch it."
I like convinced myself I don't like Timothy Chalamet, and I don't.
Why
know
does everyone not like him?
I
He's
don't know.
awesome.
I don't know.
He's
I
a
think
great
it's just like
actor.
the default
He is
answer.
good.
Everybody
Yeah.
thinks he's a little weenie. I'm like, dude, no, that's the weenie you're searching for is Tobey Maguire. Everyone knows that.
Oh, is that it?
That's the
You
weenie.
cracked the case.
I will say I just saw Ride with the Devil with him in it, which is like a Civil War revisionist western
Yeah.
that came out in '99 with him in it, and he's awesome in that. It makes me hate him less. But him as Spider-Man, I would never watch it again.
Yeah.
This is an actual little.
Wiener, as you
Wiener.
would say. That's why.
All right, so I watched Dune. I watched this
Okay.
movie Titan, which is insane. I don't even want to describe it.
Okay.
It's
Then don't. No, I'm just kidding.
well, Titan. So you
That's
can
really
you can
aggressive.
imagine by
I'm
the
so
end
sorry.
something. There has to be something metallic or machine-like
Yeah.
in it, and all you just get dropped into this girl's story. She's like a car model. That's all you know. It takes you on this wild ride.
Yeah.
Is that like 80s? Or no?
No, it just came out.
Oh,
It's
it just came
2021.
out?
It was like
Oh, okay.
I think it went to Palme d'Or. I don't know if it
I
won.
thought I heard of something like that from the 80s.
No, it's a French movie. Same director that did this movie Raw, which
Okay.
was an insane movie that came out 2019. I like these weird like French.
Yeah, I think you told me you've
Despicable.
been trying to push some of these on me
Yeah,
for
I don't
a
know
while.
what it is. There's something in there.
You're
for
like,
me.
dude, it
Keep
was
pushing these on me.
You're like, dude, it was so upsetting. I'm
But
like,
yeah, so Titan, we were both just like, there were scenes we were both just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
No, stop. And that's it. I don't want to say anymore. I'd say if you want to challenge yourself mentally, like if you want to just like take a step into like the wild side that you've never been,
Is that on Shudder?
we watched it on Hulu.
Okay.
It's really good. So
I
it's
know
like
I saw
horror
it somewhere.
sci-fi, kind of like cyberpunk horror sci-fi, but with like some French twist
Some
that doesn't
twist.
make any fucking sense. But it's like
that's
really
super
good.
great.
And the main is awesome.
Yeah.
And you watch a dude take a bunch of steroids. It's
Oh, that's always fun.
that's like a weird thing to even say about it, but it does happen a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, body horror of family life is what they call it. As people call it. So there's like a bunch of crazy weird stuff happening, but I don't want to describe it because if you see it without knowing what's happening, it's like
It's gonna be that much wilder.
yeah, you're like, is my brain working?
Yeah,
All
the
right,
answer
so
is
what is it?
no.
I think that's all I got. Did I
Okay.
watch anything else? Oh no, I did watch Talented Mr. Ripley again because I love that
Okay,
movie
yeah,
with Damon.
Oh, that's a good one.
The reason I watch it is because Saltburn came out and people were trying to tell me that that director has never seen or didn't pay any homage to Talented Mr. Ripley.
So you were
when
trying
the
to
plot
to
is,
prove them wrong.
I don't know, 90% the same.
Yeah.
It's a good like the movie's great, but it's like how can you not tell me you didn't hear about this movie that came out 20 years ago that has a very almost similar plot. There's bathtub scenes in both. Like there's stuff that happens in both that you're just like, okay, that's like saying I created like a Star Wars related saga and I just never seen New Hope.
Yeah, you're like, so these got
What's
these
Star
sabers
Wars?
Yeah, there's
of-
this guy named there's this guy named like Heen Soli and like Anakin Water Walker. Like yeah, there's this thing. It's almost like a force. And
But
like,
you can't see it though.
there's like good people and bad people. There's like two sides of the coin,
Oh,
but
man.
they kind of flip.
yeah.
And it's like
Should we wrap that bit up?
it's like I've never seen Star Wars. You
I
mean
guess
that's
not.
it? What?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. That's all I got.
Yeah.
So Nick, what have you been watching?
I watched one movie in the last 2 weeks.
That's not actually true.
No, I think there's only one movie I wanted to talk about. I watched Return of the Living Dead.
Oh,
Movie's awesome.
That's awesome.
that is a
It's
great
incredible.
movie.
People don't like that, but it's
Movie's
such a
so
good movie.
good.
I love that.
It's
They're
like the dumbest.
They're like, oh my god, if you like that, and you can't like that if you like that of the Living Dead, and Day of the Dead, and Dawn of the Dead.
I like them all.
Who
I think
is
it's
that
all-
person?
They're
that
just
you-
fucking nerds, dude. There's nerds. There's purist nerds that are like, oh, that's not a real zombie movie.
nerds.
Because they split. The two
Yeah, it
two
gets
creative heads split.
it gets funny, and then it gets like, let's see how gross we can make these movies.
Yeah, but then on the funny side, you also say, let's see how gross we can make this.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair.
it's awesome.
It is great. That movie's incredible.
Yeah, I love that movie.
But that's all I watched. And then I started The Sopranos again, and
Oh, that's right. I came over. You were watching
yeah,
that.
I'm on season 4 now, so that's just like a never-ending saga.
Yeah, because Dan
Yeah.
O'Bannon was involved with, he's involved with Alien, but he's
Yeah.
also involved with
Yeah,
Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
And then they kind of split, and he went this way with the story.
Went weirder. Yeah.
Which is like funny because it's like one took a serious turn and kept going to make the most epic zombie trilogy of all time, and then he's like, "Well, look what I have."
He's like, "What if we get punks?"
I know why you like this movie.
Why?
Oh, we know why.
Yeah, you're
we
nuts,
know
dude.
why. Just a little.
Keith's wild.
A little. Linnea Quigley, eh?
All right,
Hold me
so
the trash man.
on that and more. That's you, the trash man. All right, so should we get into the main event here?
Oh yeah, what movie are we doing again?
Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, just that little ditty from '98.
Yeah.
That movie did come out.
Did you watch the right movie?
God.
All right, so when we start about this, I will say I saw the 25th anniversary of this in theaters,
yeah.
and it absolutely ruined it for me.
What do you mean? What do you mean it ruined?
I mean,
it for
trying to
you?
watch it on a normal TV is like impossible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because you
I even
saw
have
it
a
in,
big
like,
TV.
9K.
I even have a big TV, and I lay down on the floor to watch it in front of it, and it's still like watching that in like the remastered, updated sound 25 years later. It was like
You were
shell
there.
shock. We were both sitting there like we didn't even look at each other. We were just like tensing. It was like intense. Especially that first scene. We were just like, I don't even know if I breathed.
You're just.
So then I went to go watch it again for the last time we were going to do it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, this is falling flat at home.
Yeah, that's a shame.
I got to move closer. So I
gotta
sat right in front of the TV.
Well,
You gotta watch it
speaking
in like VR or something. Get like an interactive one.
Well, speaking of the sound, like I saw some that Spielberg instructed all cinemas to turn the volume like way up.
Just
because,
a blast.
because the
everyone's
sound
ears.
effects like play such a crucial part of the movie.
Yeah.
So like when he shipped this out, he said volume up, like
Yeah, crank it up
like,
to 11.
crank
boys.
crank that shit up.
He's like, I will be coming to your theaters, and I will tell you if it's loud enough.
Keep it up.
And he also said he didn't want anyone to gain admittance until like if the movie started, can't get in.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm sure
that's
that was-
awesome. Yeah.
I'm sure that was enforced.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Like,
Seriously.
Spielberg said you cannot come in.
Yeah, my
Look,
grandmother
take
has
it
like
up with him.
My grandmother has like a hip replacement.
I'm just the messenger.
Yeah, my grandpa was at D-Day,
and he just has problems getting in. Like,
Yeah.
we had to help him up the steps.
Like, hey, bring it up with Spielberg. You already knew the
He
story
said no.
anyway, pal.
He said,
Just,
Yeah. Like
you said
Jesus.
701 and you're a crumb.
yeah, so how about it? I don't care you need a little extra butter for your popcorn. How about it?
Yeah. Should have planned better.
So yeah, this movie, like you said, 1998. The budget for this movie was it wasn't big. It was this is estimated what I'm reading right now is 65 to 70 million, and in the box office it made 482 million, which is nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's. I did see that this movie is registered or preserved by the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress. Basically, it's preserved as culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. So I think like when they were making this film, they wanted to make it as realistic as it could be. And there was a lot of like when you said they had to crank up the volume and stuff like that. I mean, I think he consulted with like actual D-Day veterans to get this movie made, which is just like incredible. Like it's so good.
Oh yeah. And
yeah.
this was yeah. I don't know. I agree.
Crazy.
With you, though. Yeah.
Crazy.
So when I saw it in theaters, they had this featurette
Oh, that's
that started before. I think it might actually be like on the Blu-ray or DVD or whatever, but they played it before, and it was like, hey, thanks for coming to see this.
Yeah.
And then talk like what you were saying, how they hired people. It was like behind the scenes of that. And
Yeah.
it showed how like they basically had camp. Like everyone that was in the movie that took it like super seriously. They had people come in, basically anything from how you see how they like they knock their ammo on their helmet, like every little thing that a soldier would actually do.
Yeah.
They basically like lived it.
That's
They
so
slept.
wild.
They slept in camp. They like ate together. They did everything that soldiers would do.
Yeah.
And they said nobody like joked around. Nobody like
Yeah.
everybody like took everything they were saying like seriously. That's why the movie feels
it
probably
feels
as
like
real.
all-
Like I
authentic,
obviously,
yeah.
and that's what I was thinking about the last time I was watching this was like we just have to go by accounts, right? So
Yeah.
somebody said, "Oh, this is how it went down."
Yeah.
Exactly. Like this person did this. This thing got blown up like this. Like
Yeah.
there's no like actual like there's no video obviously. There's no like
Yeah.
real there's nobody like there's no news reporter
Yeah.
like they have it
Right.
somewhere. So like to make it feel like
Yeah.
as real as it does. Like,
Oh, it's
crazy.
It's incredible.
Like, you're
It
immersed
is.
in that
Yeah.
first scene, especially. You're in it. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what you want to be. You're in that.
Yeah,
scene.
you're there. You feel like
And like, I don't know if
real
you,
fear.
there's like that one Call of Duty game that starts out the same way, and they just basically
yeah.
stole this scene.
Yeah, yeah.
But when you're playing that game, it feels like you're underwater. It feels like you're taking
Yeah.
shots. And you're
Well, and what I was
the-
going to say is that before I got sidetracked there.
Oh, my bad.
No, I sidetracked
Nah,
myself.
I'm in
is
more,
what
so
I'm
I gotta-
saying.
I gotta remember that
I was
I'm
like,
in
no, this was a passion project for Spielberg. So, and you can really tell, like, he was
Oh,
like
he went in.
putting heart and soul into
Oh,
this
dude,
movie.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
So he, like, and obviously it worked out for him. I
Yeah.
mean,
This is, I think, so this is my favorite movie of all time, but I think this is the best war movie of all time, too. Like, that might be a hot take, but
I
personal opinion.
there's so many, but it's up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely one of the top.
So there was something, Keith, that you brought up. You said there was no footage or anything of, like, of
Well,
the
you're just saying
war.
in general, right?
In general. So there's a documentary out there that you might like. It's called 5 Came Back. Did you ever see that or hear about it? So it focuses. There was 5 directors: John Ford, William Wyler, John Huston, Frank Capra, and George Stevens. They were basically sent into war to film it.
Okay, so
They
lied.
sent. No, well, what I was going to say is D-Day, Omaha Beach, where they actually landed. That was one of Operation Overlord was the giant D-Day.
Yeah.
That was like the code name for it. So Omaha was one of, I think, 5 or 6 like landing points that they were supposed to land at. There was only one that survived. They were filmed. All of them had footage, like people filming all of them. Only one camera made it. Only
Wow.
one
Oh, so
camera
they
of
actually
footage
had
made it.
people.
They have footage not
Wow.
of Omaha, but of a different one, and you can see it. It's on YouTube if you like get a chance
That's
to watch it. It
wild.
is
Crazy.
wild. Yeah, one of the guys who was in can't remember what one, but they were basically getting. He had a bunch of footage of Operation Overlord, and basically someone knocked his camera out into the water, sank. He lost all the footage, and people were like, "Well, there goes all that." So yeah, but that's really good if you are interested.
That's cool.
Just
I'll
in
have to
general,
check
it's called
that out.
5 Came
So they
Back.
must they
It's on
they
Netflix.
probably they had to have used some of that because I'm just like if everything feels. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, what do I know? I've
Yeah.
never done anything heroic in my entire life, but and I know that sounded like I was trying to be funny, but it's just
Yeah.
true.
But
Oh,
it's
you're
true.
doing a podcast.
Yeah,
That's
you're-
heroic.
It's heroic. Oh my god, dude, give me a medal. No, no, but for real, like
That's wild.
to me, it just feels as real as it can. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like
Yeah.
I watch all kinds of war movies, and I not that I like particularly war. I just
Yeah.
think war
It's
movies
fascinating.
are fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, the whole idea of them is war is bad.
Yeah.
Like, it shows the turmoil. It shows great stories that come out of it, but it shows
I mean, it's bad
Yeah.
in general. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like this, you're like immersed, and it feels like, well, that's how it happened. Like it
Yeah,
has to be how
yeah.
it happened.
Oh yeah.
So there's a lot of. Did we want to talk? Oh, we got to go over. How about we go over the cast and then we can get
All
into
right.
the plot because I
All
do have a lot of details about what you were just saying, like how real some of these details felt.
Okay.
Some I just have a couple little fun facts. So who wants to go over the cast? Who wants to do it?
We'll go with top billing
We'll
himself.
go with top billing.
Okay. So one thing that I thought was cool about this movie is that there's no credits in the beginning. So it just comes up. A couple things come up, and then it says "Saving Private Ryan" with that green underline.
Yeah.
Which looks just awesome. And then it just goes into the movie. There's no like as the movie's playing, like there's credits. No, like at the end of the movie, then they do the credits. So like
Yeah.
Tom Hanks, obviously top billing,
Yeah.
got the Oscar nom for it, and one of his many Oscar noms in the '90s. We'll run through his '90s run for sure.
Oh yeah. He's
but-
nuts. We'll
but
cover
he-
that at the end. I hope.
But he had
Yeah.
that. Tom Sizemore. And you guys help me out with the names, but
Yeah. So we had with just like their
just the name of
names.
their. There's so many of them.
Oh, the
Yeah,
characters.
yeah.
Yeah,
So Tom
characters.
Hanks played John H. Miller. He's
Yep.
a captain. He's basically leading this kind of ragtag group
Yeah.
of misfits. Tom Sizemore plays Mike Horvath.
Horvath, I think.
Horvath. He's second in command. He's like the NCO, non-commissioned officer. He's a sergeant, and you get the sense that he's been Captain Miller's friend for a long time.
Yeah.
So who else we got?
Edward Burns.
He plays Richard Rybin. He's a private.
Yep.
He's just trying to be Ben Affleck at all times.
Yeah, but Ben Affleck, Diet Ben Affleck over here.
That's fucked up because he's
He's
a great actor and like a director, writer, producer. Like he's like a well-established guy.
We're like fucking idiot. Dude.
I just it's just how it is.
Yeah.
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck are always in the movies together.
are.
And then when
Yeah.
we were watching this, when we saw it in theaters, Olivia was like, "Oh my god, like, did they just try to get Ben Affleck and they couldn't?
Yeah,
Like, was he
couldn't book
busy?"
him.
Well, that was the funny thing I was telling you guys before this is that when he cast Matt Damon for Private Ryan,
Yeah.
he wanted somebody that was kind of unknown. Like, you knew him, but like he wasn't in a lot. So, but in post production of this movie, Matt Damon wins an Oscar,
Damn.
and all of a sudden it just blows up. Like he's like everybody wants Matt Damon now, and so his trying to go with the unknown did not happen.
But it probably worked.
Because everyone's like, "Whoa, Matt Damon's in this? This is
Yeah,
amazing."
we go see it.
Yeah, Damon and Affleck was just too busy doing Phantoms at the same time, so he couldn't do this.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. He was in Armageddon. He was actually in Armageddon this year. So I'm assuming there was probably some.
There was
who
probably
knows?
some-
Who knows if he even wanted him? I'm just saying.
If you were to cast it, you were like, oh, well, he's got
Yeah.
the
I
Armageddon.
mean, he fucking
so,
starts screaming
yeah.
like Ben Affleck.
The rest of the
Kind of
cast,
sounds like him. Definitely looks like him. If you close your eyes a little bit, you're like,
You
yeah,
s-
it's
yeah.
him. Throw
That's
a helmet
wild.
on him, a little dirt. It's Matt Damon. I mean, Ben Affleck. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is a
Jack,
serious
who else we
episode.
got?
the rest of the cast: Barry Pepper,
He plays Daniel Jackson. He's the sniper.
Oh god, he's so cool.
Adam Goldberg.
He plays
Dude.
Stanley Mellish.
He is such a good actor.
He is.
Yeah, he's awesome, and he has so many great lines in this
Vin
one.
Diesel.
Yeah, as Adrian Caparzo.
Yeah. Giovanni Ribisi.
He's awesome. He's the medic.
Oh yeah, Irwin Wade.
He's so good.
Jeremy Davies, who I haven't seen him in a lot, but
He was in that movie Helter Skelter. He played Charles Manson in that one. That was a pretty good
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
That,
okay.
that movie was good.
They didn't really let him do anything after what he does in this movie.
Yeah, but
Oh,
he
I
played
know.
Timothy Upham.
Yeah. After what he does.
And then there's like a
Oh,
bunch,
he's in Ravenous.
There's like
Right after this movie. Yeah,
oh,
sorry,
okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I'm just saying there's a bunch of guys that pop up in the movie that
Yeah.
like Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had a bunch of like call outs. Ted Danson.
Yeah, the
They made,
three-
like a
Danson.
huge
The
revival.
three of the biggest.
Dennis
Ted-
Farina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are the
Yeah.
three big ones. Dennis
Like you're
Farina.
like, oh man, that guy, like that's amazing.
Oh, and Cranston.
Yeah.
Oh, Cranston.
But like
yeah.
it's like one after the other. It's like they're almost like they're in one scene. It's like cool. You see
Yeah.
you see
Yeah.
Dennis Farina. He's like, I got another assignment for you. And then the next scene, they stumble upon Giamatti.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the next scene,
And they like team up with
They
them
got
in
Ted
battle.
Danson.
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
you're
who,
like,
who are they
well,
gonna bring next? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
And Cranston plays like an amputee. Like he has.
Yeah,
yeah.
He has like one arm. It's like
and he's
crazy.
the one that like puts
Like,
the whole
yeah, kinda
puts the
like
whole
says-
Yeah.
operation together.
Yeah.
You know who else was in this that he pops up for like a second? Ryan Hurst. Did you
Oh.
ever see Sons of Anarchy?
Yeah.
He plays
oh, he
Opie in
is in
Sons
that.
of
Yeah.
Anarchy,
He's the
yeah.
guy that can't hear.
Yeah, and he was in Remember the Titans.
Oh,
And he's like,
yeah.
He's like, you're gonna have to speak up.
Yeah, and he's,
He's
like,
like,
yeah,
Private
James
James
Ryan. He's like,
Ryan.
no, James Francis Ryan.
He's like, yeah, I know him.
I know him. Yeah, it's
Oh, yeah.
but,
That's weird.
Yeah, I
didn't-
forgot about that.
yeah.
Remember the Titans? He was
Movie's
in, too?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you guys have anything else before we dive in? This is the plot of this one is long.
No, I have one movie recommendation that I'm gonna forget.
Okay.
I looked it up. I was looking at best World War II movies because I realized like I watched probably 9 Vietnam movies. I probably have a handful of World War II movies I go
Yeah.
through, which is weird because World War II is such a big war.
Yeah.
There's this movie called Come and See. It's a Russian
you were
movie
telling me about that one. Yeah.
about Germany, basically German control of Russia.
Yeah.
And
what
it's
a
basically
fucking
you
disaster
know how
that was for
you know
them.
how all the Flag of
Yeah.
Western Front starts, where the kids are basically like, yeah, we're gonna do
Yeah.
this. Well,
Yeah.
there's these 2 Russian kids that find a rifle, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go join the basically join the Russian army.
Join the Soviets.
And it causes like the Germans see it. They actually attract the Germans. The Germans come in and they start like wrecking them.
Yeah.
And then they literally join the ranks. They have a rifle. They're like kids.
Yeah,
And
that's
you-
wild.
The whole time, this movie's like 2.5 hours long. The kid's face, you just see his face, like he's looking at the camera a lot, and his face is like getting like more wrinkled and more tired and just more stressed out.
Yeah.
And the reason I watched it is because it came up on the list of like best World War II movies, and it said this movie makes the intro to Saving Private Ryan look like a walk in a park on a Sunday. And I was like,
my
what? the-
God.
So like I watched the whole movie, and
Yeah.
then towards the end, I was like,
Is it brutal?
it's like a totally different type of movie. This movie
Yeah.
is like almost like remembering American troops.
Yeah.
This movie is like the other movie is like it's like a Criterion Collection movie. It's like a well-renowned like 80s Russian movie, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like it is like harrowing almost. Like it is like brutally like everything that happens, like the worst possible things keep happening.
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting worse, and you're just like
if you hear about there's
like,
a couple there's a what's it called? It's like World War II in color. There's like a bunch of those type documentaries on Netflix. The Soviets, if you hear stories about like I mean they like
It's
obliterated like later in the war they fucking rocked Germany. Like it was but you hear stories like literally it would just be like kids would like kid would die and then like the mom would pick up the rifle and get right back and it was like all these wild stories.
oh yeah, and like
it's insane.
everyone in the town was like
Yeah.
like basically everything bad happened. He leaves, comes back, everyone's gone.
Yeah.
And like tries to save this girl who's like a nurse. Basically every possible bad thing is happening. He has to go in disguise.
So what is this? What is this
called
one
Come
called?
and See.
Come and See.
Okay.
It's a
I'll
Russian
check that
movie,
out.
but I'm telling you, man, I
It's
watched
good.
that last night because I was like, you know what? Let me throw another World War II on, and I was just sitting there like this.
So
Olivia's dead asleep. I'm just like,
And this came out the same year as Thin Red Line,
yes,
This
which
one?
is also a war
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
which actually Sizemore turned down a part in Thin Red Line to be in Saving Private Ryan.
And it was a good move for him.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah,
because that's another good one, but that does not. That's enough. That's
Yeah.
nowhere. That's
Yeah.
like this movie is just.
is incredible.
Yeah.
So should we dive into the plot?
Sorry,
Do
I
you
don't
want to
know
get
why-
into
I
Saving
didn't
Private?
mean to- I didn't
Oh,
mean
yeah.
to derail one
No,
more.
it's all right. That's why you're more. Anyway, I'm just kidding, dude. That's wild. Keith's so mad right now.
No, I'm not mad.
Yeah,
I'm not
you,
mad. I'm
you
just
guys should
fucking
see him.
mad.
He's mad.
You can't see. Yeah, yeah, he's mad.
But John Williams does the music for Saving Private Ryan, which is also cool.
Yeah, the score in this is really good as well.
All right, so let's
So
go.
we'll
let's
dive
go.
into the
let's
plot.
go. Let's go.
All right.
All right, buckle up, everybody. This isn't a Sunday in the park. Oh, are you doing the ocean things? Yeah.
We're in the
So you see
we're in the vehicle.
the movie opens up. You see an older gentleman. I'm going to do this early part because I know. Yeah. Anyway, so you see an older guy. He's kind of walking up. His family's behind him. He walks up to it's a grave site, and he basically breaks down. He's looking down at a grave, and then he goes right into. I guess the action of the movie. So it opens up. It flashes on the screen. June 6, 1944, D-Day. So they are on Omaha Beach. The U.S. Army lands at Omaha as part of the Normandy invasion, Operation Overlord. And they just get, like... How long is this? This scene's probably 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's probably the most brutal, like... You better not fuck up your take because they're not rolling this back. Like
It's one of the most legendary openings of any movie.
Yeah.
Like it's insane.
It's unreal. So like in the logistically, they were landing on a beach. They had no protection. The Germans had set up actually historically they set up these kind of like what they called pillboxes with MG42s. That was like the German weapon of choice. That was kind of marketed as this will rip through anything. And so basically you had a bunch of these bunkers aimed down at these tiny little boats that we see the Tom Hanks and the rest of the characters that you would come to know. You see them kind of cramped in there. The doors open up and all hell breaks loose. So there's a great line right out of the gate that I say this sometimes like when it's probably not the best way to say it, but like someone will be like, all right, like we have a meeting in 10 minutes and I'll go, all right, I'll see you on the beach. And then we run it. And it's like,
Lord.
it's not great, but it's just been a good catch-all. Like,
But
and
that
basically
scene is
he's like,
so real.
it's insane.
It's like because
Yeah.
when they're like in the ship,
Yeah,
and they're
there's, like,
coming
the
up,
one guy who
people are
throws
just
up,
throwing
like-
up, and like they're
Yeah.
like the doors open up, and
Yeah.
it's just like,
and the first front half
Blasted.
of every
Yeah,
boat
it's
was
like-
essentially obliterated.
and they just have to like get out and
Yeah.
they have these little metal things to hide behind,
Yeah,
but like they're not that big.
yeah. Oh,
And
it's
they're
it's
like-
insane. I think like to add I always this it is a very brutal scene, but I
Yeah.
think it always makes it worse is when you think about a lot of these people, they were like 18,
I know,
19.
I know.
Like it is truly insane. Like
Yeah.
I think in this movie, Tom Hanks, he's only later on, I'm not going to spoil anything. He finds out when you find out what he does for a living. I'm not going to spoil what it is. But he said he was doing that for 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you think about college and then 10 years of a career,
Yeah.
he was like early 30s,
Yeah.
maybe 35 or something. And he was like, people were like, oh, that is like, and he was a leader. Like he was in charge of all these people.
There was a quote I wrote down.
Yeah.
Because when they get out finally and they're like, they get to the metal things.
Yeah.
And the one guy in his company, I forget who it is. It might be Barry Pepper. But he comes up and he goes, where's the rally point? And he goes, anywhere but here. Like,
Yeah.
He's like, there's nowhere
Yeah.
like... He's just like saying like we
Tom
have
Hanks
to
was
get.
like, I don't fucking
He's
know.
like we have to
Like,
get
just-
off this beach
Yeah.
somehow. Like
It's crazy. So those metal things, they were barricades so that it would make it harder for basically ships to. It worked in their favor that they could hide behind them, but it was
Right.
supposed to make it a bitch to get your ships
okay,
on
okay,
it. So
okay.
yeah,
that makes sense.
but yeah, I mean, they literally had next to nothing.
Yeah,
to,
that's
to
all they
help.
had to like
Yeah.
hide behind.
I can't imagine like how terrifying that must have
No.
been. But anyway, so initially dazed by like kind of the chaos of everything, you see he's the 2nd Ranger Battalion Captain John H. Miller. He basically gets whoever's left and is like they just keep pushing up the beach. He ends up they finally find some cover. You can tell that there's he's trying to communicate with other people. Again, this was the same at this time. There was also several other beaches that were being invaded, and the whole goal of this mission was to basically punch through the German defenses and like establish a beachhead in France. So he's basically like, we don't have the beach. I don't know what to tell you guys, and it's just absolute chaos.
I remember when they finally get cover.
Yeah,
and he like looks around and he's like, "Who's in command here?" And they're like, "You are, sir." Like they're like, "There's no one else
and he's
in
like,
command." Yeah,
I can't imagine. Like, it was already probably obviously a stressful situation.
Yeah.
But then if people are like, "Oh, you're like, tell me what to do,"
Yeah,
I'd be
you
like,
assume
"Dude,
you're
I
in charge
don't
of-
fucking know. Like,
You assume you're in charge of your battalion,
yeah,
and then like there's somebody else there, and he's
Yeah.
just like, nah, it's you. You're like, all right, cool.
You're like, what's up? She's like,
All
no,
right,
I
well,
was.
I guess I'm MacGyver here.
It's crazy
Yeah.
that when they're taking cover, that guy gets shot in the helmet.
Yeah,
And he's like, "You lucky motherfucker!" And he takes his helmet off. Bam!
Boom.
Gets
Bam.
shot in
Dead.
the head. It's like
yeah,
crazy.
So where he gets? So what I was saying, this is, I don't know why I'm gonna bring this up. Where he gets shot in the head though, it
Yeah.
seems like it might have got him anyways, because it's like right in the forehead. Like his helmet's like on. I don't know. I was just thinking.
I think it skimmed
It
off
skimmed
the,
him,
off
so
the
it
it
was
skimmed
top,
off, and he
yeah.
like looked at it, like, and then all of a sudden, boom!
Yeah.
It's
And I think
crazy.
the craziest thing is that, like, and throughout this is like a kind of a bigger theme, is that Tom Hanks, like, he's literally talking to someone, they get shot, and he's like, all right, let me go find someone else who can help me.
Yeah,
Like,
right, like,
he has to be, like, not fazed by it,
Yeah.
basically. So eventually they finally take out, there's, like, a little German, I guess there's a group of guys with a little MG-42.
like a bunker. In
Yeah,
there.
he gets Jackson, the sniper, to take it out. They open up basically a hole. They clear that, and then basically everyone floods in. So they successfully were able to infiltrate and capture the beach. But there's a really funny line where he says, "Jackson, go up there. We're going to cover your fire. Like, get an angle on this bunker and take them out." And he said, "All right, go." He starts running, and they're all shooting at Jackson. And Sizemore goes, "Your mother would be very upset if she saw you do that, Captain." And he goes, "I thought you were my mother." And turns around and just like starts unload. So it's like it's insane how they sprinkle in these little because like if I was in a war, the last thing I'd be like,
I know.
"How
Yeah,
funny would
right.
this be if I like?"
Yeah.
like,
I thought you were my mom. So the one thing he does though is he takes, when he figures out he's like, "Oh, I'm in charge here." He takes his knife, takes some gum, puts a mirror on it, and figures out how he can see. I'm like, how the hell is he seeing?
Yeah.
He can see.
Yeah, he's used like a rear view mirror.
Yeah, he can see the Germans
Yeah.
out there, and he's like, okay, he's basically like calculating what they have to do.
My man has a little like mirror they use at the dentist, and he's like, "Yeah, there's 94 Germans."
The first time he puts it out, a
Yeah,
bullet
you're like,
hits it. He's
"What?"
like, "God damn!" It's like,
It's
But yeah,
just
when
insane.
when he finally figures out he can use his sniper to blow them out of that hole, or out of that bunker, or whatever the hell that rock. He's like, yeah, just hit him a little lower, and he just
yeah,
blows
they all
them out.
fall out.
yeah, Barry Pepper's
insane.
Crazy.
awesome.
It's insane.
As
Yeah,
sniper.
and he does his like, I forget the.
He has,
He
like, a
like
prayer.
kisses the cross and then he like
He's like-
says a prayer and shoots.
Yeah.
God give me strength.
But that's another cool, like, he says his religion is brought up. His religion is brought up a couple times, and every time he's like, "Lord, give me the strength," and you're like, "Dude, this guy is like, that's wild."
And then he just does the most like
like wild shots of all time. So they long story short, after all this crazy scene, they establish they won essentially. They end up clearing out all the bunkers. There's a bunch of scenes. It's kind of it quickly turns. They're shooting all the Germans. They get the flamethrowers, everything, and they successfully landed.
Yeah, that was crazy with the flamethrower, because they were flamethrowing them, and then they said, "Don't shoot, let them burn."
Yeah,
like,
that's like
right.
That's insane.
And it's like, oh man, like that is crazy.
Like what? There's, I mean, definitely
Like,
there's like
I
a
can't put myself
mindset
in that mindset.
Yeah,
I know.
I mean, maybe if you're there and you
That's what I
literally
mean.
just saw like everyone
you just
you
saw-
get mowed down, you might not be like, hey,
Right.
And you
pal.
also know what they've been doing.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this
Yeah.
is maybe what they deserve. But it's like, I can't say that because I'm like,
I'm not gonna say
I go,
that.
I wake
Yeah.
up and barely get to work on time.
Right.
Yeah,
And then I go home and
and I'm like,
eat
hey,
my dinner and
yeah, it's-
But
That's
one
wild.
one really cool scene I thought was after that, like once everything's like settled, and they
Calms
have
down,
yeah,
yeah.
like they have control of the bunker and everything.
yeah,
It shows Sizemore, and he grabs dirt and puts it in
yeah.
a jar
yeah,
and puts
He
the
puts
cap
the
on. It
little
says
lid on it.
France, and then he opens his bag and you see he's had dirt from Africa, Italy, and now France.
Yeah.
So he like has it from where he's done battle, which I thought was a cool like little thing that they just threw in there. You
Yeah.
know, like,
So that was, I think a lot of people think of. I thought that was like a really cool detail to throw in there because I feel like a lot of people think of like D-Day as like, oh yeah, hell yeah, man, America's here, baby, like let's get it.
Yeah.
But like they actually started, like the U.S. officially entered the war in 1941, and they did a campaign through Africa and Italy and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, not only are these guys just survived this wild attack, but like Sizemore,
They've
he was
gone
like,
through,
I've
yeah.
literally been here since the U.S. entered this war.
Yeah.
So you can tell that they've been through, they've been through it, so to speak.
yeah.
One more detail, and then we can move on from here. So we were talking about like the little details that Spielberg threw in here. There's a really cool scene that there's a medic. They're working on a guy. This is with Wade. It's not Wade who gets hit, but one of the other medics gets shot in the canteen. And water pours out at first, and then red pours out behind it.
Oh,
And like little details like that,
Yeah.
like the guy got shot, and then like his canteen was leaking the water, and then like, oh shit, he got hit because blood's now coming out of it. Little
Yeah.
things like that, I think, are just like a testament to like how like, and I think you said at the beginning it was Spielberg's like passion project.
Yeah.
Like it's unreal, the detail. But anyway,
And then when they pan over the beach,
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
I was
oh,
gonna bring
man,
that up.
Like that's
yeah.
just
when
like,
it's just everyone, like all the
bodies
bodies
are
and
just kind of
stuff.
and like
floating.
the water just red. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's crazy.
So they
That's
they
brutal.
they pan over it, and actually they do the panning over, and it zooms on one soldier who's laying face down, and it says Ryan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this is a great kind of lead up into the next scene. So they flash back. You're no longer following Tom Hanks. You're back at the Department of War. They're basically typing up a lot of the we're sorry your son lost in this battle and something like that.
Yeah,
So they basically
so
receive.
many letters.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Like so they
You
receive
see like the stack of them, just like
and they're just
Yeah.
they're just cranking through them.
Yeah.
So they basically receive communication. One of the typists there sees that 3 of the 4 Ryan brothers were killed on D-Day.
Yep.
Like the same day, 3 of them dead. And there was one, James Francis Ryan of the 101st Airborne Division. He's still out there. He's listed as missing. No one knows where he is. So the general of the Army, George C. Marshall, orders that Ryan be found and sent home. And basically he's like, we can't let this kid, this kid's mom like has to have some shred of hope
yeah.
to get to basically spare the loss of all their sons. And now we're kind of flashed back over to the war, where they're kind of established in France. And Miller is tasked with recovering Ryan. And he's basically like, you did great work. I'm really sorry, but we got to send you back out. Which is like a lot. It was a war. I always think about it, it's like, man, you lived through that terrible thing. You're like, that was a crazy battle.
This is Dennis Farina, right?
Yeah, Dennis. He's the
This scene is awesome because it's not. He's basically like, all right, so Tom Hanks or Miller is showing him like exactly what they did. He's like, hey, we took out tanks here, we took out tanks here. Here's this minefield. There's actually 2 that we found. And he's like doing all this, and he's like, all right, well, how many casualties do you have? He's like, oh, we got 35 and double wounded.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, well, he's like, well, I got another one for you. And you're just like,
yeah.
this is the guy.
Yeah.
Just the
Yeah,
guy.
because he's like, it was a hard job. He's like, I got another one for you.
I'm just
And
like,
he-
so
Yeah.
he's the guy.
He's the
And
guy.
he's like
Tom Hanks is the guy.
and he's Tom Hanks. He didn't put on 15 pounds for this movie. He's
No.
not like your typical like troop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like
Oh.
dude.
Well, he's supposed to be just like an older. I think another theme throughout this is like people don't know what he does for a living. Like he seems to be a very like Captain's just going fucking in. Like no fear. This dude doesn't he doesn't let anyone know how he's feeling. People are like, what does he do?
Yeah, there's like a bet on.
Yeah, there's
they have
one
a wager.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
love
cool.
that. So he basically assembles a detachment of soldiers to accompany him. So he has Mike Horvath, which is Tom Sizemore. He's Richard Ribin, Adrian Caparzo, Stanley Mellish, Daniel Jackson, Irwin Wade, and interpreter Timothy Upham. He needed someone to speak German, and he's just like such a bumbling, like he's very nervous is the only word I'm going to use to describe him. And he's
Can I
like,
bring my
hey,
typewriter?
yeah, and he holds up the pencil.
He's like, I've only held a gun in basic training.
Yeah, and he's like, Corporal Upham, did you fire that rifle in basic training? He's like, yes, I did. He said, well, then you're qualified. Get your gear. It's nuts.
And he's holding on to the top of the typewriter. He's like, is that a souvenir? And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
sir."
oh no, he's holding it. He grabs a helmet. He sits his helmet down, drops his typewriter, and picks up a German helmet. And he turns back around and he goes,
Oh, it's a
"Is that
German helmet."
Yeah, he goes, "Is that a little
Oh.
souvenir for you?" And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, hold on.
I thought in my head, I thought he had
Yeah.
you know how the typewriter case fell off. I thought he just had the typewriter case in his hand.
And he's
I don't
like,
know.
good news, you won't be needing to carry this. And he throws it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, but what about my typewriter, sir? Tom Hanks, like, this is the pencil. Holds it right up.
Yeah,
and
the
shows
pencil, yeah.
He's like, yeah, dude, we're gonna be trekking
He's like,
across
all
all sorts of terrain, and you're not bringing a 40-pound typewriter.
Bringing a
Yeah, like,
fucking
you're about to be in
typewriter.
combat. You're not bringing a typewriter.
Yeah. But something that's brought up pretty early is that Upham is really kind of, he's an outsider. I mean, like, he didn't storm the beach. He was kind of brought in after they already won it. He was kind of there. He's really like infatuated with like the whole bonds of brotherhood in war and stuff like that. And so I think you're supposed to really relate to Upham. Like, as a viewer, you see these group of guys that clearly know each other, and then Upham's just like, I'm in the war also. And they're like, yeah, go fuck yourself. How
But you
about
never.
it?
I mean, and like that's the thing about it. Is sometimes like there's frustration that builds.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's asking questions. Like when they leave to go find
Yeah.
Ryan, they're walking. And he's like going up, like asking them all questions, and they're like, "Hey, go fucking talk to that guy.
Yeah.
Like, don't talk to me."
He's like, I'm sure I'll be really eager to tell you all about his life. Back home.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what does he say? He's like, if you say one more thing, I'm gonna kick your ass or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But I think that's like the whole idea is like you want to instantly be like, oh my god, this guy is such an idiot. But at the same time, you're like, this guy didn't ask to be there.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
guy
he
is
just got
probably
picked,
closer to
like,
what
yeah.
you would like.
Yeah,
As someone
he's
that's never
supposed to be
served in any
relatable.
military.
He was
Yeah,
ordered to be like. He's like, there's nothing I
fuck
can
this.
do.
Like if this happened now, most of us will probably end up falling into a category like that. We're like, oh my
Yeah.
god, I don't know what to do. Freeze up.
I want to
Because,
bring
like,
my typewriter.
when the smoke clears,
Yeah.
like what are you going to be doing?
Yeah, seriously.
So you can yeah. It's just
Yeah.
like,
So they have they're basically, so they're now out to find Ryan. They end up going to a little town. They basically track where he was. It was I think it was a rallying point for the 101st Airborne or something like that. Noiville, where this is where they run into another unit that's already kind of stationed there, run by Paul Giamatti,
Yeah.
who is not in the movie for very long, but all of his scenes are cool.
makes
he's
it count.
great.
He
He's
is
great.
unreal in this movie.
Yeah, he leads that crew, and he's just like,
He's just bitching the whole time.
Yeah.
like he's like, I'm tired of this war. My feet hurt.
it's funny because you don't see his face right away, but you hear his voice, and you're like, "Yep, that's Giamatti."
Yep, there he is. So they, like I said, is ran by Paul Giamatti. I can't remember his character.
William Hill. is his
William
character.
Hill. So they say that he's like, "Yep, we're trying to pass through. Like, do you know where this person is?" And he's like, "Yeah, like we have a unit a little bit down the ways. We can take you there." But they find out that there's actually a sniper in the town, and unfortunately, our man Caparzo gets hit. So
Yeah.
Vin Diesel takes one.
because he
in
takes
the chest.
Tom Hanks says, "Don't get the kid."
Oh yeah, there's
And
there's
then
like a family.
He's
there
like, "I
that
can't leave her there," and he like gets the kid, and then the sniper shoots him,
gets him.
and then he's like, like I'm fine, I can walk. It's
Yeah,
like,
he's like, "Just
but
help me up."
He's just like bleeding out. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah. And
It's
then he's
crazy.
like, "I have a letter from my dad. There's blood on it." It's like, oh man. Like,
yeah, and they're like, "Dude, just stay down.
yeah.
Yeah,
We,
and then-
we know." Like,
That's the whole
yeah.
thing. Is like everybody knows because they all carry a letter
Yeah,
at their
yeah.
chest. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, everybody knows that. But he
Yeah.
has to like reach it out. And I obviously, how can I say anything about it? Like
I've never been sniped. Landing
I've never
on
been in
French
any
Strait
kind of-
in the rain.
any
Yeah.
kind of situation close to this. So how can
Yeah.
I say like, oh well, I can't believe he did that. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I can't say anything about it, but it sucks that he like they're like just stay down. And he like
Yeah.
he's like,
Yeah.
no, you got to see this letter, and then that's what ends
Yeah.
up. I mean, who's to say he wasn't going to die anyways? But still, it's just
Yeah,
like
it's
just brutal.
unfortunate.
But then they're like taking cover. They get Barry Pepper to get
Yeah.
in position.
Oh,
Jackson kills it. Yeah, I mean,
and
literally.
He's,
He's basically like he's like, Jackson, what do you think? Because Jackson is a sniper also, and he goes, if I was a sniper, that's where I'd be. And he's like, all right, get it done. And you're
Yeah.
like, holy shit.
He's the
he's
most
like, I'll cover
clutch.
you. He runs and
Yeah.
gets on her, and then the sniper's like looking
Oh,
at everybody.
season. Yeah.
And then he finally sees him like with his rifle pointed at him, just bang right
Yeah.
through the
You
scope
see the
into the
flash
eye.
real
It's like,
quick.
oh man,
it's
like-
wild.
Dude, and it just hits him straight in the eye.
Yeah,
through
right in the
through
eye.
the scope. You hear the,
yep.
Yeah.
and it's just like, damn. I wonder if that's real.
I mean, they used to do like on a lot of the rifles. The biggest thing that would give people away was the light bouncing off of the scope.
No, but I wonder if
Yeah.
it actually like if there's an account of that where it actually
sure.
they found a
Well,
guy
what I was
that's,
saying is, like,
traveled through the scope
Yeah.
and hit him in the eye.
Well, they used to like if like someone who was a sniper or something like that to counter snipe someone, they would just aim for that glint. So like he was
Oh,
aiming for the
for the-
scope because you could see it when the light would hit off of it.
Yeah.
And like I mean, I think Jackson has a really great line. He's like, I don't know, it might have been a little before, and he's like, you put me 1 mile within Adolf Hitler, we'll be home by next week or something.
Oh yeah,
like
that's
that.
right.
Yeah,
it's I think
that's-
it's when they're walking up.
Yeah,
to
when
this
they're
place.
walking.
Yeah,
up, he's
that's
like,
such a great line. So when they are walking up to this is actually where the first instance of the word foobar comes in.
oh yeah.
So this is another word that Upham is like, what the hell does this mean? And they're like, yeah, I think it's German. And they're just,
Yeah.
They're just absolutely.
It's like,
fucking
oh, I'd
with
never
it.
heard of that.
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
I
look
looked it up in the dictionary. I couldn't find it. Like,
Like, hey, Upham, how about you go practice falling down over
Yeah.
by that tree? Like,
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately, Caparzo is no more. They move on to the next city where they're getting a plan of basically what to do next. Paul
well, Matt,
Giamatti.
just real quick.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're still in the Giamatti.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So Paul
thought you-
Giamatti, he leans up against a wall and uncovers like Germans.
Yeah, what does he
hiding back
What does he
there.
say before this though? It kills me. He said
That's what I was
I
gonna
got the
say.
ankles of an old lady or something.
Yeah, I can't.
No, he
remember
said
the
he
line.
goes. I got to get this hitchhiker out of my boot, and he's
Yes.
taking off his boot to get the rock out,
Yeah.
and he sits down. The whole thing comes down, and there's
Yeah.
like all these Germans.
And everyone's like, oh, it's,
It's,
just a
it's
big
like almost
scramble.
comical for a second and then instantly brutal.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
It's like actually one of the most brutal parts of the movie because it's just
Oh.
like you just see people
Yeah.
being like shredded.
There's a great line that Sizemore says after that. So they basically which I think is really interesting that every time I watch this movie, I think it's cool that everyone's first instinct is to not shoot. Because people are like, we don't, like, none of us want to deal with this situation right now. Like, Germans don't want to deal with this. We like, everybody just, someone please surrender so we don't have to do this. Yeah. So they end up, another company comes in, another squad comes in and ends up killing all the Germans. Sizemore goes up to one of them. He's basically just like a dead soldier. And he goes, it's enough to make a man old. And Tom Hanks goes, let's hope. So basically he's
Yeah.
saying like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to make it, but let's
Right.
hope we can, grow old to see it. So now they're basically like mourning their friend. They're still trying to process all this stuff. They're kind of like, this sucks. Like one guy, like it wasn't worth it. All this for one guy, basically.
Yeah.
And this was again in like is a theme of like all these people for one guy. Did you have anything that you were going to add to that one?
no, no. That was pretty much it. I was gonna say about the the wall like falling down.
Dude, that's so
It's like,
wild.
when he just
It
sits
just
on
crumbles.
it and
Like, who put that together?
Dude, fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
That one piece, that 2x4 or 2x6.
it just hits
Just
the
takes
brick
it out,
wall.
yeah. You're like, well, that was cool.
Oh, I
Yeah.
should have used mortar on those bricks.
Some guy's like, I knew I shouldn't have called out sick for the wall.
Oh, but right before that, there's what's his name? Giamatti walks around the corner and you just see that barrel sticking out of that like window, and he's like, "Yo,
Oh yeah, yeah.
yo, bird,
Yeah.
Go
yo,
bird.
I got a troop coming in here," and you're like, "Okay, cool, come in." I'm
Yeah.
just like, that's how crazy it was.
Yeah.
That they're stationed there, literally
Yeah.
a wall away. Like,
Yeah.
how do they
They
not
didn't
hear
know,
each
like,
other?
they just, yeah.
Like
It's
a
crazy.
wall away. Like they
Yeah.
just turn around the other corner. That room is just full of Germans.
That's the German room.
They're just sitting there,
Yeah.
just like, stay silent,
yeah.
stay silent.
It's insane.
The wall just crumbled.
And they were like, well, we're foiled.
Yeah.
So they end up finding at this night there, once they kind of meet up with the rest of the larger crew, they said that, yep, we do have a James F. Ryan here. So it's James Frederick Ryan in the same area. Tom Hanks does this big, like, son, take a knee. Like, this is going to be
This is
tough.
Ted Danson when they...
Yeah, so this
his
is the...
crew, like
it's
when he
Ted
gets
Danson's crew.
Yeah, because he comes up and Ted Danson's like, go get Ryan.
Go get Ryan. Yeah. And he's like, your brothers have just been killed. And he's like, no, my brothers are in grade school. And he's like, what's you're James Francis Ryan, right? He's like, no, I'm James Frederick Ryan. He's like, they're probably fine. I think you're good. Like,
He's like, oh my god, my brothers. He's like,
brothers,
he's like, I need to get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
are you sure they're fine? He's like, I'm sure they're okay.
this
He's
is
like,
just a big,
Yeah.
a big foul up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the show Castle, but this is Castle from Castle.
What?
The show
The
Castle.
guy is.
You ever hear that show?
No, I never saw that one.
It was like this. It was on for like 10 years. Or 7 years, I'm sorry. But it's like
Yeah.
this drama, and he's the lead character, Castle.
Oh, okay.
Castle.
The guy who
He's a-
plays...
He's a detective,
James
I
Frederick
think, or
Ryan.
something. I never seen the show, but
Yeah.
it was on...
But
Sorry,
he'd done well. No, I mean because we talked about like there's all these people that
Yeah,
are like
right.
established actors that are in it, like Ted Danson. This was like one of
Yeah.
the first things he was in, probably since Cheers.
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first thing that he's actually in, but like
Yeah.
years later he'd be in that show.
Oh, he would-
That's
oh,
why
okay.
I recognize
Okay.
that face. Like, I don't know why. I think that
yeah.
the commercial would be on after football or something. all the
I mean, hell, that'd be cool to say like, yeah, I had a couple lines in Saving Private Ryan. That'd be cool.
time. I thought my brothers died.
Yeah. Well,
They're
that's
in grade school.
Shocking. Yeah.
He's like, but does that mean my brothers are okay? And he's like, oh, I'm sure they're fine.
Yeah.
He's like,
Tom
he's
Hanks
like,
was like,
he's like, cell phones won't be out for.
you know, why don't you just send him a
years,
text?
so-
It'll catch on.
Yeah,
one day.
we'll just go with it. They're fine.
That's
And he's just sitting there. Could you imagine him? He's like, well, I mean, like, are my brothers okay? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm doing
And they're
this
like,
for
know what
them.
would, you know what would really comfort you? How about you go on another mission there, pal?
Yeah,
It's
right.
like,
He's like,
great.
he's like, I'm sure they're fine.
But so then there's he basically has, so he's talking to Ted Danson afterwards after like they find out like this isn't the right one, and they basically some dialogue between Miller and Ted Danson's character about how like, you know, bring this guy home, like it might be the one good thing that, you know, it might be something good to salvage out of this whole mess. Did you want to comment on that? It
No,
sounds like you're...
No, I just was gonna say, and then when he's like talking to him, and he's like, yeah, bring him home. It'll be good. And then he goes, well, we're probably gonna leave like after dawn. And he's like, got any 5-star hotels around here? And like
Something with clean
fresh
sheets.
blankets, showers, and like he's like, well, we got a church.
Yeah. He's like, oh, that'll work.
That'll
Yeah.
work.
And then that where they're like hanging out in the church,
Yeah.
going to bed. There's some really cool dialogue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And
I had a lot of notes about
with
some
him
of
and
those.
Sizemore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're, like you said, they end up, they're sleeping. They have 3 hours to rest up, basically.
And they decided to talk the whole time.
Yeah, and Miller's like, you know, it'd be super cool if we stayed up. They're like, how about we get some fucking
And
sleep?
then you can see, as they're talking, you just see Giovanni Ribisi's face in the background, just like, yo, you guys still doing this?
Be like,
I
what's
love an hour nap.
Yeah. So he's translating the letter
Yeah.
from Caparzo. Tom Sizemore and Miller are talking about people that they had unfortunately lost along the way, and Tom Hanks' hand, you notice, is shaking. So this is something where it's, I think, one of the first times it's like audibly brought up. Is he's like, my hand didn't shake, and now I'm here, my hand's shaking. I think it's supposed to be like, you know, alluding to PTSD.
He's like, it comes and goes.
Yeah,
and-
it's because, I mean, obviously all the
Because you
crappy
see it,
stuff.
you see it on the boat, but no
Yeah.
one else really does.
Yeah.
You just see him kind of.
And he's basically hiding it from
Yeah.
people, except Tom Sizemore, because he's like,
That's
look,
his-
I know we're rank or whatever, but like we're buddies. So there's that conversation going on about how like all these funny people, like he brings up this one guy Vecchio is someone that they had.
yeah.
He was like, he's such a funny kid, like he used to pee a V onto people's
Yeah.
jackets. And then they're talking about Caparzo, and then Tom Hanks gets into a really cool dialogue where he's talking about, like, you know, you try and rationalize. He said he's lost, like, I think it was 94 men.
He had 94 people under his command.
And he tries to rationalize it. You say, you know, every person I lost could have saved 10 people. Could have saved 1,000 people. But he's like, but the truth is, I wouldn't trade 10 Ryans for one Vecchio or
Yeah.
one Caparzo.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a really cool of like, look, you know, we're supposed to be this, like, we have a mission. But it's like, this is a very real situation we're finding ourselves in.
Yeah, because then Sizemore says that cool line where he goes, well, this time the mission is a man.
Yeah, that's a great line.
Because they're going to find Ryan.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's their mission. Like,
Yeah, he said the mission is the man.
Yeah.
And so Upham asked the captain. He basically wants to check in on him, and he asks where he's from. He's basically like, he's finally trying to get in with somebody, and he goes, "Hey, what's that wager up to?" And Upham's like, "Fuck," he knows it's on to me. And
He's like, when it gets to 500, why don't I tell you and we split it?
And he says, Upham, he says something to the effect of like, "Well, if that's the way you want to do, my official advice, to my superior officers, we wait until it's up to 1,000, so we can each split it more." And then Tom Hanks says, "Yeah, do you think we'll live that long?"
He's like, 500 sounds good.
Yeah, and he's like, "All right, 500."
Yeah.
Did you guys have anything? Oh, and then also Wade tells that story about his mom too.
Right, how he would stay up because his mom worked the night shift, and he would. But why? There's a reason that he brings it up.
So they basically they just keep talking back and forth, or I think they notice that who's the sniper? I'm already blanking on his name. Jackson.
Barry Pepper Jackson.
He's basically just asleep. And they're like, "How the hell do you think how does he just do that?" And he's like, "Oh, he's a clear conscience. Like he'll just be able to fall asleep." And
he's like, "How I fall asleep is I focus on staying awake."
Yeah.
And he's like, when I was younger, I'd try to stay awake from my mom because the only time I could see her when she'd come home on night shift. And then he said sometimes I would pretend I was asleep. Yeah. I don't remember why he said that.
He said sometimes like I would hear. He'd basically like
he would hear her and he'd pretend he was asleep.
Yeah, and he said I don't know why I did that. Like,
yeah,
and he basically gets really
like,
emotional. And he's like, I wish I would have said hi to her.
Yeah, I wish I wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Man, what a fucking bummer this movie is.
I know,
Holy shit! Like just talking through it is nuts.
But it's like cool because it's like a major motion picture that everyone's seen.
Yeah.
But it's like full of like it's like hearty.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
The movie is just like densely full of like
every piece of dialogue is like was chosen for a reason.
We didn't even talk about at the end of the home scene when they're like, all right, well, we have to go give these letters, and they show. I don't know if it's not Ryan's mother yet, but it's a mother.
No,
is that Ryan? So it is Ryan's mother because they don't really say
they see the car coming up.
Yes, that is Ryan's mother.
Drop to her knees.
She drops her knees.
So she has outside. People would hang flags with stars on it. It would represent like it was really common. I don't know where people got these flags from, but you basically for everyone serving overseas, people would hang a flag with a star. So there's a flag with 4 stars. You're just supposed to assume that was that was there.
Because they didn't say it, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the mom.
Yeah.
And then she collapses, and it's like really that part to me is one of the most devastating parts of the movie because it's like it feels real. It feels like that person actually lost somebody in that scene. And you're just like, all she sees is the car, and she's like, no.
Yeah, she's like, fuck.
And then they finally get out of the car, and she just collapses. You're like, dude, that's brutal.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
The way it's done, like, and then it's just like the way it flows straight into the next.
Yeah,
scene,
they don't get in.
Like,
there's like no fuss with the scene. It's literally just like, yep, this happens.
They don't overdo it, and you're just like, wow,
perfectly executed.
Anyways, back to less sad things.
Something. So it's finally time to move out. The men travel to. This is the rallying point where the 101st Airborne. Just as a little fun fact, that's where Ryan was in the 101st Airborne. If you guys have seen Band of Brothers, that follows the 101st Airborne from Overlord D-Day into the successful VE Day. So if you like that, basically Ryan was part of this 1st Airborne Division. This was the first time that they ever had paratroopers in a war. So like the reason why everything is so chaotic, they planned out a drop zone and instantly no one landed where they were supposed to. So like that's another. It's supposed to be just like
so that's why they have pieces of the 101 in all these different places.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that's like just to add like some historical context.
That makes sense because they're like I was trying to understand that when I was watching it. Basically every group they would get to, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I think we have one of them, or we have a couple of them," and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, people just like the German artillery, like I don't know what they were like. Yeah, we'll fly a fucking ton of planes and it'll be fine. And the Germans were just like,
okay,
no,
blew
half them out of the sky, and basically they just had to drop before a lot of them hit their drop zone. So that's fun if you.
And
like
that
war,
camp,
I guess,
and that camp they get to, everyone's injured. Like everyone's like, there's planes down. There's like a bunch of people in the injury. There's people walking through. Like it's crazy.
So Miller's trying to get some idea of what the hell happened. So he basically talks to the commanding officer that's there, and he was like, "Hey, they added protection to this plane. There was a 1-star general, brigadier general on board that they were trying to protect, and it led to all these people dying." And he says, like the guy who's a commander, he said, all of these people died for one man. And one of the guys goes, yeah, we got a lot of that going around.
Yeah, Edward
I just
Burns.
think that's an awesome
Edward
awesome
Burns goes,
line.
we got a lot of that going on. And then the guy goes, foobar.
Yeah. And then fucking Upham's like, yeah, quick
looked
question
that
about
up.
the food bar.
He's like, I looked that up in the German dictionary. I didn't find it. They're all just like, dude, just shut up.
They're like, Upham, if you had glasses, I'd snap them and throw them on the ground.
This is where Edward Burns starts to become more into the movie. Like he's becoming more.
Yeah.
Because he gives them
And they're
the
all
tag.
Rangers, right? His whole group is Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Because he gives them the dog tags. And he goes, here, look through these, see
like
if you find Ryan.
See if Ryan. Which that's like, if you think about all the, like, again, just from a historical context, all those people's dog tags, were dead. Those people were dead.
Yeah.
Their families, no idea. Like that, I always think about that, like when they're looking through all them, because then I think it's kind of the reality of the situation. Like they're all kind of joking around, like, "Oh, look at this poor motherfucker. He had it was like a hole right through it." The one guy's like, he says the name, he goes, "Hey, wasn't that your cousin or something like that?" Because it was like,
and they're
an Italian sounding
and...
name, and then kind of the Upham's like, "Yo, what the fuck are you guys doing?" Like, there's the whole company is walking over here. Like,
he's like, these aren't poker chips.
Yeah, because and Ribisi.
That's what says it, right?
He gets it.
Yeah, because
the
he comes.
medic,
he's like helping guys, and then he sees them all laughing, and all the guys that are walking by are looking at them like,
dude, what the fuck?
They just got
and then
blown out of the air.
He's like, put them down, like these guys are like dead, and like he's like, what are you guys doing? And like even like you see Tom Hanks kind of like, like
he's laughing at first, then he's like, shit, we
like,
fucked up.
So
they
he
just
starts going, anybody know Ryan? Does anyone know Ryan? He starts screaming.
He's like, let's just scream into the woods. He's like, that's going to be hard.
Yeah, he's like, how about we like Hansel and Gretel? We'll just start yelling their names. He goes, maybe the locals know him. And he like grabs some old French dude.
Yeah.
He's like,
but I think one thing that also adds in here is Goldberg is Jewish.
Yeah.
And like, they keep showing things. And like,
he plays Mellish.
He plays Mellish, yeah. He's very affected by this, obviously.
Yeah.
And like, so as they're walking by, he's like, Juden? Like he's saying that I'm Jewish.
Yep.
Yeah, they captured a bunch of German, and he has the Star of David.
Yeah, and he keeps showing
his,
it.
Yeah, and he's
I'm just like, it's just like, I'm obviously not Jewish, but like, I can't even imagine what that feels like. Like
it's insane.
You're basically getting an hour of sleep a night, just trekking through, trying to stop this like evil empire.
Yeah. Well, if we if we think back to the opening scene when he's like, no one shoot, just let him burn. Like, think about how Mellish was feeling.
Oh yeah,
like it's crazy how people can get to a mindset like that.
Yeah, he's like, this doesn't even start to take a notch off what they've done to people.
You start to just hate like the idea of people rather than like the actual person.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think and that's war in a nutshell is really what it is. But so they finally find someone who knows of Ryan, who served with Ryan.
Yeah, that was the guy from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah,
he plays Opie.
That's where they find him. Yep.
What do you remember his name?
And this is Mandelson.
Mandelson?
Yeah.
So he comes up and they were like, hey, didn't you serve with Orion? And he has this grenade his ears like bleeding. And he's like, you're going to have to speak loud at German grenade. And he goes, you're going to have to speak loud at German. Yeah. He's like, okay, all right. So they find out that he did serve with Orion. What are you saying?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you have to add, were you going to add something?
No.
Oh, okay. You were looking at Jack,
I think me and Jack just looked at each other at the same time. I don't know why.
Yeah. I was
like a James Francis Ryan?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, James Francis Ryan.
Yeah, well, they say, yeah, is he talking about...
Cut.
He's
Cut.
Cut.
I fucking tried to get a character.
That's why you're just
more.
So he tries. They're like, yeah, no, it's James Francis Ryan, and then the guy goes, no, it's James Francis Ryan, but he yells it back.
Screams it back. Yeah.
So they find out that this is a pretty cool scene that I noticed that I'd missed a lot of the other times I watched it. He was like, does someone have something to write down? Like, he knows where this guy is. Like, we need something. And Upham comes up and pulls out the pencil and does the same motion. And I was like,
I didn't put that.
I didn't pick that up either.
I've seen this movie 50 times, and that was the first time I was like, that's the scene. Like that, like, I mean, without that, they might have, he's starting to show his value, I think, among the other soldiers.
He did something right there, Upham.
For once, yeah. Well, in this next scene, he's not going to do a lot of things right.
No.
So they basically they get the information that he was reassigned to defend a bridge in the town of Ramel. So Ramel is just outside of Paris. This was supposed to be, adding some historical context to it, they thought that if they could take Paris within the first couple weeks of the war, that it would be easy to just move right on and keep going to Belgium and then to basically Germany. So they thought, when all of them were going in, they thought this invasion was going to be like a couple months, like 3 months tops. I mean, the war lasted for like 2 years, is what the
Right, yeah.
But they were basically like, this was a
wild.
vital part of that master plan in the town of Rommel. Did you guys want to add anything?
No, so
not to that.
this is where they're, because this scene is actually extended. It's like super long because this is where they haven't found Ryan.
Yeah, they still have not found Ryan. So this is where they're walking through the
There's something. We're not even there.
Yeah,
there's
that's what I said. This next scene.
Oh
you know,
shit.
Yeah.
So they're basically on their way. Miller decides they come up on I think it's like a radar site, not working anymore. Basically, it's all blown to shit. But they notice that it's basically a German outpost. So Miller says like, "Hey, we got to go take care of this." All the other soldiers are like, "Or we don't have to do that.
Yeah, like, we can go around it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think the one guy's like, "I don't know how fast you guys are, but I bet we could get around this." And
Yeah, Burns is
Yeah.
totally against it.
yeah, Burns goes, "I don't have a good feeling about this one." And he goes, and Hanks goes, "When was the last time you had a good feeling about anything?"
about anything. Yeah, that's a
And
pretty
he's
great
like-
line.
And he's like, but then Hanks says something like, "We didn't win the war by going around things, or we're not going to win the war by
Yeah,
going around things, or
He's-
something
he-
like that." Like,
they were talking about like, I think he's like, I think we can still achieve our mission, like without like getting
Yeah.
involved in this. And he goes, "Isn't our mission to win the war?" And you're like, Tom
yeah,
Hanks.
yeah.
He
That's
always
what
has
it
an
was,
answer.
Always
That's why
has
he's
an
in
answer.
charge. But if you think about it, if they didn't do that, they got around it. Let's say they got into an altercation like right after this,
Yeah,
they'd be flanked.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
they said that there was they noticed there was an MG42 again, this wild German mounted machine gun, and they were like, so we're supposed to just leave them so when the next company comes by and they get ambushed, like this is the whole like is the the man or the mission type thing. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
if you risk one person, you could probably save hundreds or even thousands. I think that was his reasoning. So they decide to proceed, and unfortunately, this is where the very gruesome killing of Wade occurs. So he's basically bleeding out. That he's trying to diagnose himself with wounds, which is really
Dude,
terrible.
This is brutal.
he's like, "Is the hole bigger on the front or the back?"
Yeah,
Like,
but he's
it's
basically
like,
trying to see like I don't
Yeah.
know, like you have to tell me where this is. So
I
I
got
know.
shot through the spine.
Yeah.
I got shot through the spine. And I'm like,
And it's
oh.
it's brutal.
This
But-
reminds me a lot of Reservoir Dogs when Tim Roth is bleeding out the back.
yeah.
It's like the
Yeah.
same because he's like
Yeah.
sucking
That's
air.
so real. That
It's
scene.
it's just that air sucking that like
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
his lungs are punctured and you're
Yeah.
just like he's like trying to
Yeah.
gasp and
and
breathe.
Keitel's like, "Are you a doctor? I'm
He's like-
sorry."
The way his
Yeah.
his voice gets higher and higher and it's like it feels like
Yeah.
this is obviously
It's
It is.
very
It is.
yeah. It's very similar. So he basically has diagnosed himself. He realizes. I think all of them kind of knew it, but he starts freaking out and he's like, "Look,
Yeah.
guys, I'm
This is
dead.
it.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like you can't fix this." So he requests more morphine, and everyone's
yeah.
kind of like. One, they probably know that he probably asked for it because we know he's a goner. But two, I mean, morphine in the wartime was really valuable. It was really hard to come by. I mean, they basically blew through all their stock like instantly.
Because he gives him one, and
Yeah.
then Hanks goes, "Give him another."
Yeah,
Like, and
basically because he doesn't want to be in pain.
Yeah,
as he's
They just
dying.
let him
And,
let him-
Yeah,
But there's before that, there was just a funny quote that I put down, or
Sure.
like between a funny moment between Hanks and Sizemore, because Sizemore goes, "All right, yeah, I'll run up the middle," and Hanks goes, "The way you run, no way." and then he's like, "Maybe I should go left, sir," and then Hanks goes, "Maybe you should shut up,"
shut up.
which
Yeah,
I thought was
forgot
like a
about
pretty
that
funny
scene.
line, like where he's like,
I
mean,
think.
very sad
Yeah.
instantly afterwards, but like,
Well, I think Sizemore
Yeah,
like
he's
knows
the
that he's
fucking
like,
man.
with his hand shaking and stuff. He knows he's like, maybe you set this one
Yeah.
out, buddy. Like I'll cover for you. So Wade is basically unfortunately killed. There is one German that's left alive, and they basically decide like, oh, we're obviously all gonna kill this guy, right?
yeah, they all start beating him up, and
Yeah. And then Upham steps in and basically says like, no, you need to follow the rules of war. Like this isn't right. I mean, he's still very by the book, and Miller is like, you know what? All right, I'm going to let this guy go. This basically, like, obviously causes tension in the group. And this is where Ryben, he's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm leaving. Like, I'm out of here. They get into a fight, and Sizemore pulls a gun on him.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
It's like,
He puts it right in his face.
Did you want to talk about that scene?
That's crazy because you're like, he's about to leave, and everyone's like, come on, man. Like, don't leave. And he's like, you're not going to leave.
Yeah. He's like, get back in line.
He's like, fine, just shoot me in the leg. He's like, I'm going to shoot you in your mouth. And he's like, you don't. He's like, what does he say? He's like, you don't know when to shut up. You don't know how to shut up.
Yeah. It's.
He's like, you're going to shoot me for leaving? He's like, I'm just going to shoot you because I don't like you.
That's wild. But I think, like, this is, again, like, if you're trying to put yourself in Upham's shoes, like, he's, you know, the outsider. I think you're supposed to relate to him. He's like, no, there are rules. Like, this isn't part of the rules. Like, what happened to all this, like, brotherhood that we were told about in basic training and stuff like that? I just think it's, like, a pretty interesting scene.
But remember the German, before they let him go, he starts begging.
Yeah.
And he's
yeah.
like, oh, say, can you see?
Oh,
Oh, say, can you see? And he starts singing,
Yeah.
then he goes, fuck Hitler. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
he's like saying anything.
Anything
like,
to
he
get
can
What is he?
like,
Who does he talk about? Betty.
He's
Boop?
like, ooh, Betty Boop.
Yeah.
He's
What
like,
a gal.
I like American.
And then
I
he
like
says, and then he says,
American.
Betty Page, she's got some gams or something
Yeah,
like that.
something
I'm like,
wild.
he
Yeah.
That
knows
part's
more about America
crazy.
than I do.
Yeah.
That part's crazy.
It is.
He's just
Because
like
he
basically
realizes,
pleading for his
like,
life.
Everyone's pointing their rifle at him. He's
Yeah.
like,
But the gun scene also invokes Tom Hanks's.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
was
yeah,
gonna.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was. That was up next. Is what I was
Where
going to talk
he-
about.
He's like, all right, well, I guess this is as good as time as any to.
Yeah. So they're all
stop a
fighting
murder.
each other. Yeah, pretty much between
Yeah.
a mutiny.
Yeah.
So he basically is like, they're like, Upham's like, Captain, you got to deal with this, dude. And he goes, what's the pool up to? And they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, 300. Is that about it? The pool?
Fuck, fine.
And he's like, I'm a school teacher.
yeah.
He's like, and they're like, he basically just goes into. He's like, I lived in. He lives in a town that's like right outside of. He's in Pennsylvania.
It's
But
in
it's right
Pennsylvania.
outside of Pittsburgh.
Yep.
He's like in a little town. I can't remember the
Starts
name
with
of
an
it. Yeah. But he's like, I taught English composition. And he's like, in the summer, I was the baseball coach. And he goes on this just like awesome speech. And it basically ends with him saying like, I think the only line I had, which I don't know if you had some of the rest of the lines, but the last line that he says is, just to let you guys know that every man I kill, the further from home I feel. And you're just like,
that's
wow.
I had that. Yeah, that's crazy.
and it's cool. I mean, I think he in part of this dialogue, he talks about like, you know, back home, people knew. I would tell people I was a teacher, and they'd be like, "Yep, that makes sense for you." But he's like, "But over here," he's like, "I worry that I've changed so much that when I get home to my wife, that she won't recognize me." And I
Yeah.
think that's just like, that's
And
just so crazy.
I
to
also
think about,
read
you know?
about that scene is that originally in the script that was supposed to be way longer, like of him telling the story of
Yeah.
who he was,
Yeah,
and then Tom Hanks actually said to Steven Spielberg, "I don't think Captain John Miller would talk that long about himself." And he's like,
"That's cool."
and he goes like, "I think we should cut the scene down to like just how long it was now."
yeah,
And Spielberg goes, "I totally agree." Like, and
Yeah.
he like, and that's pretty cool because that's
one
the
of
first
best
time.
scenes in the movie.
That's the
yeah.
first, and this is the first time Spielberg and Hanks worked together. They
Yeah.
did 5 movies, but this was the first one.
Yeah,
And like for him to just go up to him and say that on like his passion project, that's pretty. I mean, Hanks
that's
was
ballsy. Yeah,
Hanks was pretty much like the hottest actor on the planet at this time. But
which we're
like,
gonna get into his '90s
yeah,
run.
yeah.
at the
But
end.
like it's like that's pretty cool that he like picked up on that. Was like, yeah, he
Yeah.
would never like spend a half an hour talking about
Right.
himself. Like,
that's I didn't even. That's like
That makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense because it is kind of succinct, but it's like everyone's like,
yeah.
oh man, that's what it is.
he gets out like all of the information to neutralize the situation and nothing else.
So
I
it's
think
that's
Adley, Pennsylvania. That's what he says.
Adley, Pennsylvania.
Thomas Alva Edison High School.
Gotcha.
And it brings everyone together because then they all start digging,
Yeah.
digging the graves, and
Yeah.
even Burns like puts his bag down, starts digging. Like everyone's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know what? Like we're all together. Like
Yeah.
we're doing this.
So to speak to that, part of Miller's speech is he says like, you know, Ryben, if you want to go off, if you want to like, he basically says like, if saving Ryan means I get to go home, that's what I'm going to do. He's like, Ryben, if you want to go off and fight the war, I'll even fill out the paperwork. Like, I'll let you go. But, like, just know, and then he says the line, just know that every man I kill, the further from home I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that is, like, a unifying moment of, like, all right,
Oh, he's
like,
right.
we've been with each other since the beginning. Like,
Yeah.
we got it. We're all here for each other.
We got to see it through.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. So they finally make it to Ramel.
Well, they forget to say that they let the guy go.
Oh yeah, yeah. They let who they call Steamboat Willie. He ends up and offers him a cigarette, and he goes, "Oh, Steamboat Willie, toot toot," which is wild.
But they let him go. The whole
well, that's right before all the speech and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yes, he's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're so mad. Yeah.
And then when they're going to Ramel, they walk through the field.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that scene?
Yeah. So you see them walking through this field with like these big yellow flowers in it, and they're all just like walking. All of a sudden, you hear a tank coming, and they all like get down.
Yeah.
And it's a German tank, and they're coming, and they ambush it. Pretty much try to, take it, but then all of a sudden another crew, on the other side, so they just kill all the Germans that are in it, and then what are you? What station are you in, or whatever? Like, what company are you in?
Yeah,
and then they find out it's Ryan. Like
the way they did that scene is really cool.
Yeah.
He's like, it's three guys, and Ryan's in the middle, and it's the first guy. He's like, so and so from this company. Ryan. He goes, Private Ryan, 101st Airborne, and then the third, it just like pans to the third guy, and it's like so and so this thing, and then Tom Hanks is like, "Wait a minute,"
he's like James Francis Ryan,
from Iowa, and he's like, "Yeah, how'd you guess?"
Yeah,
it's
like, wow,
so
how'd you do that?
It is really cool. That's what I mean. Like the way they put everything together in this movie is just like there's no. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, but there's no time that you're just like, oh, we could have skipped this scene.
Yeah. No.
Like could have seen a little less of Giamatti, huh?
It's like they're just like panning right to the next thing. It's like the way they edited this film is just like
it's incredible. I would love to see if there was like a director's cut of this. If Spielberg was like, I filmed 5 hours, I'd be like, give me the footage.
Right.
Like let me get that footage. So they describe the situation. They're like, we've been looking for you for quite some time. So they're back at their little detachment. He tells them, hey, we're here for Ryan. I know you guys need reinforcements. I don't really give a shit. Like, I hope it comes, but it's not our problem. But Ryan is like, I'm not abandoning my post after he finds out that his brothers were killed, which is a great line. He says, Tom Hanks says, hey, your brothers were killed. He says, which ones? He just goes, all of them.
All of them, yeah.
It's insane.
Crazy. And then that gets echoed later. There's someone else outside. He's like, what's going on there?
He's like, hey, what's going on with Ryan?
Ryan's brothers were killed. He's like, Ryan's brothers were killed. He's like, which ones? He's like, all of them. The guy just stares off. Like, he doesn't say anything. He's just
fuck. But Ryan, he ends up saying, like, no, I can't leave. Like, tell my mom I was here. And Tom Hanks is like, what are they going to tell your mom? And he's like, tell her I stayed here and, like, with the only brothers I had left.
Yeah, because he's like, why me?
Yeah.
Why me? Why am I special?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not special. And everyone's like, yo, just go home.
Everyone's like, dude.
And then Edward Burns is like, 2 of our men died finding you, asshole. Like, and he's like all pissed off. Like, because he's like, we just came all this way to find you, and now you're not going to go.
And you're being a dick about it.
Yeah, like, I'm not leaving. It's like, no, you're leaving. Like,
yeah. I mean, if that was me and they were like, you're coming home, I'd be like, boys, see you back in the States, hopefully.
He's like, yo, M, get that lasagna ready.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta get a letter home now.
It's coming in. Get the homies.
Get the homies.
I'm coming in hot. I mean, those boots aren't even gonna stay on my.
You bet we're going to the shore when I get
head
home.
First into that bed.
Connor's gonna love that little bit.
Wildwood's getting lit up. Yo, Jack, I'm coming down Wildwood. Get ready.
So we have to give a little shout out to our buddy
apologize.
Connor. I told him that while we were covering the D-Day part, I would say that. Even with all these bodies, it's still nicer beach than Wildwood. But I'm really sorry, Connor.
Yeah. So just a side note.
That's fucked up.
Connor sits with us at work. He's an awesome dude. He listens to all our stuff.
Shout out to Connor.
But he said he knows my gimmick. Just in general, I have to bring some kind of light, levity into life. Like, I just rip jokes all day. And I was like, he's asking us about it, and I was like, yeah, dude. I mean, I have to change my MO for this. I can't be talking mad jokes about war.
I know, we were talking about that too.
And I was like, dude, I mean, like, if a person that has ever served or knows someone that served turns on this podcast and hears me making jokes about the storm or the beach, it's like, they'll never listen again. They're like, wow, that's the most disrespectful thing I've ever heard. And it's like, there's just certain things you don't.
Yeah,
you don't.
And
make
Connor
fun
was like, "Oh, it
doesn't matter how funny you think you."
Podcast.
It's like, it doesn't matter how funny you think you are.
Yeah,
like there's just certain respects you don't cross. And then he's like, I can't believe you're telling me this right now. I'm like, Connor, I cannot. make light of the situation. I mean, there are funny things that happen in the movie, as in lines that.
Well, he said, Nick,
like,
is this your favorite comedy movie?
He's such a funny guy. But I'm just saying, there are levity scenes in here on purpose.
Dude, Connor's
like,
going to be like, what the fuck?
It's built in.
There is,
It's built in to, like to give you, like, a chance to breathe before the next thing happens. And it's like, it's also to show, like, the camaraderie and, like, okay, well, we're in this, so, like, we gotta have, like, we gotta...
Yeah, if you can't laugh about it, you know, it's...
Like, the way that Vin Diesel is smoking that cigarette. Like, you can tell, it's like, I need this. Like, this is... You know what I mean? Like, he makes it seem like this is like a life or death
and
cigarette.
Speaking of that, like after he tells him his brothers are dead, and he said, "I'm not going to go," then Hanks and Sizemore talk.
Yeah, and
you can tell how close they are together because they're talking like, and he's like, "Do you really want to know what I think?" And Hanks goes, "Yeah, I do, Mike." So he uses his first name for the first time, and you're like, "Oh yeah, they've been through some shit together.
They've been through it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that scene. That is pretty good. I think that's the first time that they use anyone's first name.
Yeah.
In that movie, because
they talk about what they're going to do, and they.
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep going with the plot, but I just thought that was cool. Like,
it is a cool scene.
How it was like he's like, yeah, you know, I do want to know what you think, Mike.
And I think so. To follow on that's basically the next bigger scene is that he says, like, you know, like, we could leave, we could get Ryan out of here. He said, or we could stay, and what if by some miracle we manage to pull this off, we save this, we get these people home, and we get Ryan back. He said, like, it'll earn us all the right to go, or he says, like, it might be the one decent thing that we did is saving Private Ryan.
Yeah,
that's the quote.
Cool. Yeah, which is cool.
And then he says, like, and it'll earn us all the right to go home.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, that's so then I like that Tom Hanks is like, oh, fuck, you're right. Like,
yeah.
So they decide to basically put a plan in motion of, like, how they're going to defend it. So one of the things that they use, they're basically trying to block off areas. Tom Hanks brings up, this is, I think, the one, it's not inaccurate, but it was something that I, like, looked into, the sticky bomb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He recommends to, like, blow the
and they all start laughing, like, yeah, you're kidding, right?
Yeah, and he's like, no, it's in the field manual.
Burns is like, we have to give up all our socks now, huh?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, sorry, we seem to be light on field manuals out here.
That's
awesome.
A great line.
But so the U.S. actually never used sticky bombs in real life. Those were British had something that was called a sticky bomb. It was the number 74 sticky bomb and the number 82 gammon bomb. And they were not widely used because the material was so sticky, people couldn't throw them, and several people blew up.
Which is what we see.
Which is what you see in here. So I think it's like a nice little homage. But yeah, the U.S. actually never used sticky bombs, which I just thought was like...
So what are they coated in again? They take this...
Axle grease.
Axle grease.
Yeah.
Put them in axle grease, and the idea is they put a fuse in them.
Yeah.
And they just stick them to the...
Yeah, stick them to the tracks.
Tread.
Yeah. So basically this is... this whole scene, it's kind of they get a whole plan together. They line the bridge. They talk about, like, you know, if you're the last person, they're there to protect that bridge. They're like, if all else fails, blow this bridge.
Yeah.
No Germans are getting across. So they have a plan.
He's like, if you're the last person, you better move your ass.
He's like, it's like a 20-second fuse or something.
Yeah.
Like, jeez. So they have the plan, and they're all sitting there. There's like a record playing. There's like some opera music, and this is like, I really like this part of the movie because everyone's just hanging out. Like, they know something's coming, but they're all just hanging out. Tom
they're
Hanks,
gearing up, but they're hanging out.
So Upham is over there translating.
Yeah,
the French. French record, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the second thing he's done in this movie that's made sense.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, cool. So he can translate music.
Yeah.
It's funny because then they're just like kind of riffing off of it. And they're just doing what guys would do, I guess.
Yeah.
But they start including him a little bit more.
They do.
So they give him. There's a really great scene where he's supposed to follow. They're basically like, Upham, you're not what we call a good soldier. So you're gonna carry ammo and just give it to people if they need it. And so he says, like, you know, I need you to be here, like, right behind me. He's like, I know this may seem crazy, and it's like, sometimes you just got to do it, even if the mission is fucked up beyond all recognition. Yeah. And he goes, Foobar. And he's like, yeah. He smacks him in the head. He's like, that's such a great... Well, I like that that's like, you know, he's finally accepted. Like, people are like, you know, you're one of us now.
Yeah. And he's like, you got to be Johnny on the spot with the ammo, or we're dead.
Or we're dead.
He's like...
That's wild foreshadowing.
And then at the same time, you have...
I know.
You have Private Ryan
and
Hanks. They're having
they're
their
doing,
conversation.
yeah.
This conversation is awesome. You guys can talk about it.
Is that the one where he's like, I can't picture what my brothers.
He's like, I can't picture what my brothers look like. He's got to add some context, and he's like, I think of like, what does he think? He thinks of his wife with the gardening gloves or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, okay, so I think of the time, and then he tells that wild story about his brothers.
His like brother who's
Dude,
like
that part
getting ready to hook up with someone, and they
Yeah.
like bust in and like mess with him and stuff. Yeah.
This
Almost
girl
puts
he
up
was
the barn.
this girl
Yeah.
that he was going to be hooking up with, she hit every branch of the ugly tree. I'm like,
he's like, think about a person who took a nosedive off the ugly tree and hit every
that
branch.
is the most brutal. Like
Yeah,
that,
that's
but like,
wild.
then you realize that like that adds context so you can remember his brother. So you're like,
Yeah.
every other one of those details he says, like it's like, oh shit, like I can relate to that. You need,
Yeah.
you need like context and something to remember people.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's so true. And then he talks about it, and you could tell he like breaks out of that like grim, like, oh, my brother's just passed. He's like, okay, And then he says to him, he's like, well, tell me about your wife. And he's like, no, that's just for me.
I love
And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? That's a man of integrity. Like, he's like, you know what?
That's Captain motherfucking Miller right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I just thought that scene
And
was, like,
Damon
really
like
cool.
is laughing about his brothers, but then he gets kind of somber and goes like, and that was the last time I saw them all together. That was about 2 years ago. It's like,
you just get
And
dragged
it's
right
brutal.
back
Yeah,
into
it's
it.
like-
It's very tough.
But one scene I liked also, the one quote I wrote down is when they're listening to that song, and Sizemore's sitting there, and he goes, "Any more songs like this, and the crowds won't have to shoot me. I'm about to slit my throat."
Because it's like really sad.
Yeah, it's like he's translating it. And it's like
Yeah.
the saddest song ever. He's like,
It's wild. There's a really good line. I can't remember what one of them says it, but Sizemore laughs really like loud, and I think it was an improvised line, but I don't have any proof of that. And he goes, "I'll never forget what she said to me before I left to come over here." And he goes, "What? Stay away from me?" And Sizemore loses it. Like, he genuinely is like cracking up. So,
I actually read that Damon ad-libbed that whole story
About the
talking
brothers?
about-
Really?
No
Yeah.
way.
that's pretty
I
wild.
read that in
Holy
the
shit, it's so
when I
detailed.
was
It
looking,
really is,
looking
yeah.
into stuff on this. But
He's like, he grabbed her, he didn't know what to do. She's knocked out. So he grabbed her by the leg, and he grabbed his shovel, chasing my other brother. And I'm like sitting there, I'm
Yeah.
like visually seeing what's happening.
Oh yeah, you can picture the whole thing. It's
But then at the
insane.
same time, Edward Burns and their little trio is talking about when he worked for his mom,
yeah,
and
Oh,
his
yeah,
mom's
yeah,
friend
yeah.
was like, he's trying to get his
Yeah.
mom's. He's basically
Yeah.
trying to get his mom's friend, who was well endowed, to
Yeah.
fit into a smaller corset or whatever. And she said to him, she's like, when you're overseas and you see something bad, you just think about this, and it shows him.
About these,
And I'm
yeah.
like, you know what, like.
two very different
Yeah.
conversations.
But
going
it's
on.
like, it's cool because it's like, it just feels like organic. It feels
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
everyone's trying to help in their own ways. Everyone's like just basically trying to like, they know
Yeah.
they know their boys are going
trying to add
overseas.
to it.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They're like,
Yeah.
So this part of the movie, I thought it was really cool. So after they have this, everyone's kind of hanging out. They're basically waiting for like the impending German advance. So they hear the tank and it's broken up, and the music cuts off. And that is like, in my opinion, like they have two parts of this. It's like the music's playing, everyone's hanging out, and then like the music stops, the Germans are coming. And I think that's just like such a cool way
Oh, yes.
to split up that
Yeah.
that scene.
Yeah.
you're right. The music just kind of just.
Yeah, they're just like, fuck.
it cuts,
All right,
and
it's,
like everyone gets in position.
Yeah.
And, like
it's
yeah.
terrifying.
And then also Hanks is doing his thing, and he's like, "What's up your hand?" He's like, "I'm just
Yeah,
keeping it
snapping."
to- keeping it to-" And we're like,
he's like, I'm keeping the rhythm.
the rhythm. It's so good. So now I'm gonna just gloss over this action scene is really long.
Okay.
I will say,
Okay.
so I told Keith this, but when this scene came on, I was running on the treadmill at the time. Like I'll watch movies and stuff. This whole action sequence started, and I like just dialed it up so I would run, and like the camera was following Hanks, and I was like, I'm fucking here. Like I'm gonna like
"This guy is fucking."
I'm sprinting
He's got his
in
US
my
helmet
helmet
on.
on. Like,
He's got his
but
helmet on.
I ran like the whole time, because it's like you're in it, like I was like hyped doing it,
Yeah.
and then I stopped and I was like, all right, well now I'm in pain, I'm out of breath. And-
So we need to come up with a couple pump up like movies
Yeah.
for you, because that's what
But
does it for you.
yesterday, so I've been trying to do like a couple miles like every day just to stay moving. Yesterday I like doubled the amount that I did, and I was like, I just gotta watch wild war movies while I run to amp me up or something.
You know what? When we did the Rocky episode,
Yeah.
I was watching that at the gym,
Yeah, it's
and that
incredible.
that it was Rocky 1.
Ah,
I
forgot
just,
about it, yeah.
I was just moving.
you were in.
You should have watched Rocky for the montage scene. That
Dude.
scene will get you
I
going.
unapologetically listen to that soundtrack like once a month.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, it's time
Yeah.
to get something done here. So anyway, the music stops. The German assault approaches. So I'm just going to cover like some of the big deaths. Unfortunately, Jackson is up in a tower. He's sniping. He gets blown up by a tank. Very sad.
Yeah.
Horvath.
That
he
scene's
gets
crazy because he's like scoping and then he looks
Yeah,
and
and
he
then
sees
he
the
sees
tank.
it.
He's like,
Oh,
and he
like,
yells something
fuck.
and just, yeah.
that's it.
he's done.
Yeah.
So Jackson's done. So everything they do hold off for a while. They
Yeah.
do a really good job, but then like it starts to fall apart. So Horvath is killed. Has the awful stabbing scene, which like gets me every time.
Dude.
He like basically gets into hand-to-hand combat and he gets stabbed while Upham is cowering outside.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so
Because
mad.
that's the Jewish guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Goldberg, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that scene is crazy. Yeah.
It's very upsetting.
And like it upsets me every time, but then I think about it and I'm like, dude, how do I know that I wouldn't have been shooken in fear?
Yeah.
Like, I've
Oh,
I've never shot a rifle like in battle. Like I
Yeah.
don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I said that was Horvath. Horvath and Jackson were both up in the tower. Mellish
Is the,
gets stabbed.
yeah.
But basically, he's just paralyzed. He's like, I can't go up there. Like, I don't know. He's never killed anyone, never fired his
Yeah.
gun. So that's very unfortunate. Basically, they're getting slowly pushed back. A lot of the sticky bombs work. They blow the tank off the tracks. Then one of them doesn't work. The guy ends up being blown up a little bit.
Yeah, that was.
Dude, that was the first one too. You're like, oh, cool. Is this gonna work?
Yeah.
He runs out.
I thought he was gonna sling it.
Yeah, no, he's like
He
trying
just
to
goes and
set
puts it on, and as it hits, the body
Yeah.
just.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then the Germans bring in the it's basically like these mounted. They had these like kind of like light artillery mounted guns that basically they would pull up, mount, and just unleash. They like wipe out a whole bunch of people that were like surrounding the tank, which was fucking brutal
It
too.
is a brutal.
Oh yeah.
The props in this movie, like I don't know how the hell they pulled some of these off, but like the bodies is wild how they did
So
it.
what was the little machine that the Americans had?
Oh,
It's like a mini tank.
Yeah,
it
the
has a
little-
machine
that
gun
they
on
went
it.
out
Is that
to-
right when it first starts?
Yeah,
because they
it's
try
like-
to get him to take the bait.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
little
like,
thing.
it's like they
go
call
out.
it. They called them the rabbits.
The rabbits. Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
it was
That's right.
it was so it was a motorcycle with tracks on it, and it was basically a motorcycle that was meant to, or like you could go over rubble and stuff, but it was a motorcycle. But yeah, that was just like a type of
Burns is
yeah.
on the back, and he's like,
Yeah.
all right, let's see if he takes the bait. And the
That's it.
first tank doesn't, but then the second tank
The
does.
second one does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a cool line when he's like, all right, go out there, get the bait. And he's like, hey, good luck. He goes, I don't need luck, Sarge. I was born lucky. And he cocks his gun,
Yeah.
and then they pull off. That's just like such a badass. So basically, everyone dies. I think at this point, it's Ryan, Miller, Sizemore, and who's the guy that wants to leave? The guy that just said the line that I said.
Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's left. He's alive too. So there's only a couple of them left. They're basically falling back. They're saying, "Oh, we're doing the Alamo. Everyone get back over the bridge."
And Sizemore has the fucking bazooka.
Yeah, he's got the little
Yeah,
bazooka.
Sizemore gets in the handgun fight.
Yeah.
With the guy.
Oh,
They
yeah.
throw the
'Cause
helmets at
they
each
throw
other.
helmets and then they pull their guns and they both shoot each other and
Yeah.
he kills this guy, but he's like gets
Yeah.
shot and then
He's like, "You motherfucker!"
Yeah,
he's like
he's
throws
like-
his gun like. That yeah.
And what does he
that
say?
probably
And then
sucked.
obviously Hanks finds him. And he's like, "Are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just got the wind knocked out of me."
Oh, that's the second time. So they're pulling back, and he gets shot through the
Oh,
chest.
yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
right. So he has.
yeah.
That's the second. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and so he runs up, and he's like, "Are you good?" And he's like, "Yeah, I just got the wind knocked out of me. I'm good."
Oh, you're
And
right.
he's very-
sorry. I
huge
skipped. I
bullet
skipped like
hole
10
in
minutes.
his
Oh, that was
chest.
the next scene. But yeah, he's got like a hole the size of a
Yeah.
melon on his,
he's like, I'm
his chest.
good. I just
Yeah, he's like, I'm chilling. I'm just gonna nap
Yeah.
for a while. That's terrible. That's
yeah.
so then they basically keep backing up. The tank ends up blowing up a part of like where they are. I think at this point now, Tom Hanks basically sees the detonator. Sizemore is already dead at this point, so he's kind of dazed. He walks up and then he gets shot by none other than scumbag Steamboat Willie, the German who they let back into the line.
And right before you see this, I only noticed this the last time. You see Upman see him. Like you see
Yeah,
him
because
see him from the side.
That's
He
right.
sees
Because
him, you
Upham
see him,
is still behind.
Yeah.
and he looks and he can see him through there, and he
Yeah.
sees his face, and he's like,
Yep.
and then the next scene is
Yeah. So he's the only one,
Captain
Steamboat
Miller.
Willie, this German. I thought this was pretty cool. He's the only one in the lineup without a helmet. I think it's
Yeah.
because you're supposed to be like, hey, what's that? Oh, it's the guy.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was like a really cool way for them to.
he is the only one without a helmet.
He's the only one without
so
a
he draws
helmet.
attention to him.
I thought that was pretty cool. That was, again, something I pick. You pick up stuff with this movie like every time I watch.
But then
it. It's insane.
Upham has his.
Oh,
moment.
so Miller gets shot. Unfortunately, at this point, he's leaned up against the motorcycle. He pulls the handgun out. He's still just trying to protect.
Shooting at the tank.
Yeah.
Like,
still just trying to protect Ryan.
Yeah.
And then the B-52s come over and basically push back the Germans.
But it's awesome how because you don't see that happen right away. You
Yeah,
just see him
he-
shooting, and all of a sudden he shoots again, and he's just as surprised as we are that the tank blows.
Yeah.
He's like,
And you're just like, what
hell?
the fuck?
he's
It's
like,
like
whoa.
it's like
He's like, what did I
it's
hit?
like in
Yeah,
Batman
it's
when Joker pulls out the extremely long gun.
yeah.
You're like, yeah, what the hell? And then all of a sudden the tank blows, and you're like, oh, cool. And then he looks up
And they
he sees it,
like
yeah,
fly
and
right
you're like,
over.
Yeah.
It's such a cool
and
scene.
then there's just bombing.
He's like, reinforcements are here, and he's like, angels on our shoulders.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
as he's like,
I
it's
love
so
it.
fading.
fucking epic.
So he's dying. Upham at this point, all the Germans are like, "Fuck, we gotta get out of here." Upham stands up, has a bunch of Germans basically surrendering to him, and this is the first and only time he fires his gun, and it's to kill Steamboat Willie. So
And see, but
Yeah.
right before it says up him.
yeah, he's like, I know. In German, he says, "This is super." I translated.
No, I
some
like-
of
I like
I
this.
translated some of the a lot of the German lines.
Yeah.
I looked up what they meant in English just because they don't translate it, unfortunately. But basically, they were like, they're all surrendering, and Steamboat Willie says, like, guys, it's okay. I know this man. And then he looks at him and he says, up him.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck. Like, yeah.
Holy shit! Yeah, because the
Yeah.
subtitles only
They don't.
show
Yeah,
up
they
on-
don't show the German.
Oh
And
my
then you
god!
just
I told you this was my favorite movie.
And then
he
you
was
just
so he
hear-
thought he thought he was Scott because he's like,
Yeah.
I can talk this guy out of this.
Yeah.
Then you just hear the one
The doosh.
gunshot.
And this scene, so up, and then he basically tells all the other ones to like go, like get
Yeah.
out of here. So this is actually cool. So I mean, I think this is the moment where Upham kind of realizes what it truly means to be a soldier. Like in the beginning, he was like, "How could you guys kill a surrendering man?" But it's like, oh, if you've been through it,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
you're willing to do a lot more. Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they said that even Burns was like, "What if he just gets picked up and put back in the ranks?" And
Yeah.
that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And then he
Yeah.
ended up killing
Miller.
most of his. Yeah,
Yeah.
killed Miller, and that's the only one that you see him shoot.
I think it's the
Right.
only one you see him shoot.
Yeah.
So we're at this point, and then so Miller is kind of bleeding out, and Ryan goes up to him. He kind of pulls him in. Miller pulls him in, and he says, "Earn this." Most badass
Yeah.
last
that's the
line.
quote right there.
That
Earn
That is
this.
the quote. And he basically like it's essentially saying like everything that we sacrificed for, like go and live a good life. There's so to flash back earlier in the scene where they're talking in the chapel. There's just a line that I remembered where Tom Hanks goes, this Ryan guy better go home and cure some disease or invent a longer lasting light bulb or something incredible like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Better be worth it.
he better be worth it.
Hey, he's got to save 10 people now at least.
Yeah,
10 to 1,000.
that's a lot of light bulbs.
Yeah.
That's stupid. So now we go. It's back into the present day as him as an old man. So you find out that the guy in the beginning was Ryan as an old man. He's there with his family
It was
visiting.
like fades off Matt Damon's face
Yeah.
onto like the old.
That was wild.
that
face.
casting was perfect
That
for that
transformation.
old guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so basically he's there and he's like, sir, I'm here with my family. Like I tried to live the best life as I could. And he basically asks his family, like, have I been a good person? And she's like, yeah. Like, look, your whole family's here behind you. And that's just a great way to end the movie. And then it zooms in on his grave, and it says that he passed away June 13th, 1944 is when he died. Which is, if you think about it in the grand scheme of how long the war actually ended, he died 7 days after D-Day. And the war, Victory in Europe Day, was May of 1945.
Wow.
So, like, the chances of him actually it's incredible, all the action that they saw. Yeah. So Private Ryan was officially saved.
Yeah. That's just such an amazing movie.
Dude, it's incredible.
It's so good. And you don't have
Sorry I just, like, trauma dumped all that nerdy information on you guys.
What do you mean,
I love
dude?
this movie. Oh.
No, it's.
That's why
was-
we do this.
I mean, this was Nick's pick. Clearly, he
Nick's
he
pick.
knows so
I've never
much
seen this
about it.
before
So
today.
oh yeah, it's just his first time watching.
Yeah.
You picked up on a lot.
But I also
No,
I just
feel
like
you
a lot
don't
of
even have to
war
like
movies
war
and stuff,
movies
too.
to like this movie. That's just cool.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
you have to have a bit of a stomach to watch this one. Though.
You do. But I feel like everyone can at least sit through something that is a little uncomfortable for a payoff.
Yeah.
I feel like the payoff in this is just like a
An awesome movie.
heart.
yeah.
Not even. I was gonna say a heartwarming story, but just heart.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
about it's heart, and it's not overdone. There's no part where it's like, okay, it's like Fast and the Furious 10, where they're
Yeah.
like flying cars
Yeah.
off a cliff
Yeah.
or something.
It's
It's like
crazy.
everything is like super realistic.
That's crazy that Vin Diesel was brought back for Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
I don't know.
That's
I
crazy.
don't understand how he survived. I thought he passed.
Yeah. He like the sniper was getting ready to shoot him, and he's like, "Dude, I raced with Han. Like I knew the guy."
Dude,
It's
you gotta
so
give credit for that.
stupid.
You gotta give credit
So,
for that.
I gotta give credit. I gotta give credit to my buddy Matty for that.
That's
one.
a Matty
That was
V.
That was a Matty V special right there.
You told me that this morning. I was dying.
I was telling my buddy Jack. I was telling my buddy. I was
Yeah.
like, I was watching this movie and like we were on Discord together, and I had it like playing. I was like, oh dude, they just shot Vin Diesel. He goes, did he even tell him that he knew Han? Like at the end of Tokyo Drift. I was like, oh my god.
Dude, he is unhinged funny.
He is
He
quality over quantity for
kills
sure.
me.
We gotta have him on.
Everything he says, too, is just like very. It's not like. It's not tongue in cheek. It's very just like direct and quiet.
Yeah.
Like he's just having a conversation, but it's like
Yeah.
it hits you like a brick.
Oh.
And I was just like,
He was. If we have him on this, if we have him on this show, Jack, he probably won't say. He'll probably say 5 things, and every single one, you'll be like, "No way, did
Really?
that joke just
Yeah.
land that hard."
He's like
Yeah.
that. He's like that 100% pitch hitter.
Yeah,
He's gonna hit a home run every
single
time.
time. But so anyway, now I did want to cover. Can you just rattle? Because we're going on like 2
Yeah, I
hours
know,
right
I
now.
know.
Rattle off some of Hanks's 90s movie runs, just to give people
Okay.
the idea of like. Not only did he have this banger,
Oh yeah.
like what else?
So-
It was crazy.
So Hank's 90s run. So he did 92. He did A League of Their Own.
Incredible.
93. He did Philadelphia. 94. Forrest Gump. 95. Apollo 13 and Toy
Oh
Story.
my god!
96. That Thing You Do. 98. Saving Private Ryan. 99. Toy Story 2 and The Green Mile.
Holy shit.
Not to mention he did 3 Meg Ryan rom-coms.
I was like, dude, bro, you skipped
I
all
know.
of it. I
He
was like,
did.
you skipped all the rom coms in there.
Joe versus the Volcano.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't
Sleepless
seen
in
that, yeah.
Seattle. You've Got Mail, which is actually so that's
brother.
my wife's.
That's like unfair.
I'm glad
That's
you did
my-
that the way because I was like, oh,
Yeah,
he's just
yeah,
gonna
yeah.
skip all the.
That's
all the
my
rom-coms.
wife's favorite movie.
Really?
She has 2 favorite movies, and they couldn't be more opposite. You've Got Mail and Goodfellas.
It's very.
I can
different.
see it.
And
Yeah,
then
you've got Gabagool or
But,
something.
so-
It's-
and then I was like kind of like looking like so 88 he did Big,
yeah.
and then 89 did The Burbs and Turner and Hooch.
The Burbs was such
It's-
a comfort movie.
oh
It was
my
growing
God,
up.
amazing.
it's so
and then
good.
and then in 2000, so these are like bookends on
Yeah.
the 90s.
Yeah.
He did Castaway. So in that time, 5 Oscar noms, 2 wins back to back for Philadelphia and Forrest Gump.
That's unreal.
Like
Come
that's
on, yeah.
insane.
When
This movie was nominated for 11 Oscars.
Oh, I bet.
And won 2,
Yeah.
right?
It won 5.
5. Oh, okay.
But
That's pretty nuts. Yeah.
but it lost Best Picture to Shakespeare in Love. Like that's almost as bad as Goodfellas losing to
Dude, I'm telling you,
Dances
that's
with
what
Wolves.
happened.
Yeah,
dude.
that's insane.
Guess who was in that?
Dances with Wolves was fire.
Ben Affleck.
I'll give it to you.
That's what
But
happened, dude.
then-
Ben Affleck he wanted the Oscar nom win.
Yeah,
That's why he didn't do
He
this.
said, "Gimme."
He's like, yo, Edward Burns, take it.
Yeah.
I don't
Take
fucking
it.
want it.
But Tom
I'm
Hanks.
gonna
Yeah.
do Shakespeare in Love and Phantoms.
So,
So,
what else you got?
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool. You want to go in war?
I'm gonna do Armageddon.
That's so
Sorry.
terrible.
No,
Sorry,
it's
buddy.
all
No,
right.
But then
buddy.
in and more.
Yeah, I got.
He also did-
I gotta keep my fucking mouth locked down over here.
Tom Hanks is also like he loved war. Like he
Yeah.
loved World War II. I mean, he was the producer of Band of Brothers
Yeah.
and The Pacific, and now what just came out last week at the time of recording,
Oh, yeah.
Masters of the Air. which is the Air Force. It's the third Band of Brothers series.
Did you start it yet?
No, I didn't. I'm waiting until it all comes out so I can watch it all in one day.
Okay. I knew you were gonna do it. Yeah, I want to start watching.
Yeah.
You didn't
Yeah.
check? Did you check it out yet?
No, I didn't check that out yet.
It's been getting pretty. People said it's better than the Pacific, but not as good as Band of Brothers.
Okay.
Which
That-
I thought the Pacific
Yeah.
was awesome.
I kind of want to watch all three again. Well, both again,
Dude.
and then this one.
Band of Brothers is in the
It's-
rotation like once
oh,
once a year. I'm like, it's time. Like
It's so good.
It is very.
And
good.
it's the right length.
Yeah, it's like 10 episodes, hour each, no fuss.
Yeah.
One day. All right. Any
I
final
just
thoughts for
had-
this one?
2 more facts.
Go for it. Let's hear
before So, Mel Gibson and Harrison Ford were both considered for the role of Captain Miller.
Mel Gibson would have done
Before
a half
Steven-
decent job, but he's
Then
a nut
Spielberg
job.
decided to go with Hanks. Michael Madsen was offered the role.
The Sizemore?
Of Sizemore.
Okay.
And then
Yeah.
he actually offered the role. No, he turned it down and recommended his friend Tom Sizemore for
That's
the part.
wild.
They're friends. That makes so much
And,
sense, dude.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
And then one
Yeah.
thing I read is
I'd
that
hang out with those dudes.
Sizemore was having some drug problems at this time.
Yeah.
So Spielberg at one point said, "Listen, you can't come in here like I'm going to drug test you every day. If you fail once, I'm replacing you."
Damn.
And he
Wow. So
actually,
he
he had to come
he
in
did it.
and
Yeah,
and he
'cause-
did it. But and then other things like Neil Patrick Harris was considered the role for Private Ryan.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke,
Yeah. that'd been
Edward
pretty cool.
Norton. But yeah, it's just crazy. And then when he decided to do Matt Damon,
Yeah.
he didn't know because he saw him in a film like I think Courage Under Fire, and he's really skinny. He's like, I don't know if he's really a soldier looking.
Yeah.
And he came to the set of Good Will Hunting, and Robin Williams introduced him to Matt Damon
Oh, damn.
and said like, you should use this guy.
This
and,
is the smartest guy I know.
And then
He's
and then he
wicked
you know
smart.
under on the recommendation he used them, but
That's pretty wild.
But yeah, so there's just some facts I read, but
How good is Good Will Hunting?
oh, it's really
Fucking
good.
love that
The
movie.
movie's unreal. Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, so that's all I had for this. Great
Keith?
movie though.
Any final thoughts?
Just that Sizemore is a maniac. Rest in peace. We
Yeah.
lost Sizemore and Ray Liotta in the same year.
Yeah, that was unfair.
Two
Yeah.
maniacs.
Yeah.
Two
just-
maniacs.
I just like a nice, like, 90s gritty guy.
Yeah.
Like Madsen, another dude.
Yeah.
The fact that they're
Oh, yeah.
friends makes so much sense.
Oh,
But
they probably had some wild.
True
hangouts
Romance.
back
Oh,
then.
man.
Probably my
Yeah.
favorite movie, True Romance. He's
Yeah,
in
you love
that.
that movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry, dude.
Yeah, dude.
And then Wyatt Earp and Natural Born Killers. Natural Born Killers is another top movie for me.
Wyatt Earp is
He
really
plays
good. Are you
Scagnetti in
Western?
that.
Are you guys Western people?
That's a good movie. That one
Wyatt
and,
Earp's good.
that and
Scagnetti.
Tombstone come out the same year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're covered the same guys. So
Yeah,
it's-
and they're both awesome.
yeah.
Natural Born Killers, Scagnetti, he's awesome. And then he's in Heat the next year.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like,
oh
incredible.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then The Relic, which is another good one. And then this. And you're just like, dude. And then he just keeps doing shit.
Yeah. He doesn't stop.
And
Yeah.
and he's kind of fell into the Nicolas Cage syndrome and did I think he did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Who is it
6,
still?
7, 8, 9,
Is this?
10, 11.
This isn't
Sizemore.
size. This
He
is
did
Sizemore?
11 movies
Yeah.
I've never heard of in 2022.
Well, Scagnetti is in the Tarantino universe because
Oh, really?
in Reservoir Dogs, Michael Madsen goes in and he's like, "Who's your parole officer?" He's like, "Scagnetti." He's like,
That's
and
wild.
he
Yeah,
goes, he goes, "Fuck."
yeah.
That's right.
And
That's
then,
awesome,
And then
yeah.
he's Scagnetti in True Romance.
That's
so, which is like, so he always does that universe
Yeah.
thing, Tarantino, where like he'll use a name from like a movie before, like
Just to tie it all together in the
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
Easter
yeah.
egg.
yeah.
So how about what do you think? What line should we use? Jack, you want to do the honors?
No, you do. It's your movie.
Oh man,
I think you got to do the Tom Sizemore line.
yeah, we all earn the right to go home.
Someday we might look back on this and decide that Saving Private Ryan was one decent thing we were able to pull out of this whole god awful shitty mess.
Until next time,
Earn this.
earn this.